Oh, say everyone, how y'all doing today? I am Crow, your entertainer for this broadcast, and welcome to today's episode of Starfield. We're not picking up where we left off yesterday, or should I say where we crashed, because that place is very bummed out. The music's okay, not really up my style, even though I do like electronic music, the EDM, the chip tunes. Look, I grew up with the original NES system. Both the top-down one, the Famicom, the actual Famicom. My parents actually had it. Actually, my mom's was the gamer of the two. Believe it or not. Should have watched your ears. Should have gave you a warning. Check pilot's license. Check pilot's license. Check pilot's license. Yeah, audio. Yeah, my mom was the gamer out of the two of my parents. At least when it comes to video games. My dad was an old school tabletopper. Dungeons and Dragons, not Pathfinder, but no, it was mainly Dungeons and Dragons. He created his own worlds, his own campaigns. Had the original, what was it? It wasn't even the white box. It was just the old pamphlets. He hints that he's hinted over the years that he's met Gary Gygax and may have played at his table a few times. I'll go get you an Terra Brew espresso. But yeah, we crashed. Remember that? Yeah, the last time we streamed this game, which was yesterday. We were at the Astra Lounge. Yeah, it didn't save any of that. So that's how they did that. They used one of those Nova Galactic pieces. Okay, I'm going to inspect this while I do my little thing. So they're using one of those domed ones. I kept wondering where the shield was. It's actually a dome shield. But yeah, when I booted the game back up, it took us all the way back to the executive office and to back where we were when we got the quest and all. So I said, screw it, let's go build a ship. And I am going to be building a ship. Yeah, we're still doing Corvus, even though I could have went with somebody else. I just realized with these eyes, get back here, just turn slowly. The cyber eyes, got a bit of a Valentine from Fallout 4 going on. So anyway, zoomies. Today, what I have planned is actually... What I'm going to do is, since we're just doing a ship building, I'm just going to put the effects and all, and do the masters down. And believe it or not, do I have... Yes, that's overriding. I'm actually going to... Boo, 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 boo. Yeah, no. Get lost. I'm actually going to put on one of my favorite podcasts. The Black Pants Legion podcast with Mr. Tex of DerreTech fame, who actually may have... I won't say he single-handedly, but he may have had a large influence in bringing the BattleTech fandom back because of how well he brought the lore to how easily and how in depth he went and brought the lore to those that were outside the BattleTech fandom. So, watch y'all's ears. If this is not set up properly, this is kind of like their radio. It's on Spotify, so as you can see, I've got quite a few playlists that I build up. But anyways, any promotions that's on here, any advertisement I do not endorse, I was not paid for. this is just directly from Spotify. So I have not been paid for any of this. Just to let y'all warn y'all. See this right here. This is not from me. This is just Spotify. Any adverts you hear is not from me. It's just from the radio. Any music, not mine. It's directly from them. So here we go.
Hey everybody, this is Dex of the Black Pants Legion, and being a hack who's tired and out of ideas worth a damn, I've decided to start a podcast so I can go down to making 0 videos a month and have a podcast with people you don't give a fuck about. Speaking of people you don't give a fuck about, I'm joined by my Legionnaires in Location Redacted. To my right is Mr. Nick, my roommate and long-term friend. Say hello, Mr. Nick.
Howdy there, friends. How's it going?
Across from me, I've got Mr. Diggs, one of the moderators of the Black Pants Legion, who loves to ban people.
I am a bear.
Next to him, I got Mr. Kobold, the current mayor of the Legion, and a shitposter extraordinaire.
Hello.
And next to him, and on the end, my personal Jamie, the editor of Tex Talks Battletech, and another shitposter, Mr. Mike.
Hello.
All right, so, being that this is our first podcast, we totally stole the idea from Diggs, and he's fine with us doing it so long as we say he did.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
He just wants permission granted.
Permission granted. Thanks, Captain.
So
We'll not ban you now.
yeah, well,
For now.
we'll find out.
You're all safe.
Bear Pants Legion.
So one of the things I wanted to open up with, I've got a whole terrible little notepad. I was writing down ideas.
Notepad full of farts? Is that what that is?
Yeah, pretty much.
Why does it say farts over and over again?
What is
That's-
paper?
Well,
Yeah.
no. See, it's in different.
26
it's in
pages of
different
farts.
fonts and.
Yeah,
weights
how did you
and stuff.
write? How did you write that in different fonts?
Well, it's called being a little crazy. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna open something up with something bold. What is the do you think, most overrated and underrated film director?
Steven Spielberg, overrated. Big.
Overrated Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
Yep.
okay, give me an example.
I don't know. Just everyone is. Okay, so I don't know. It just none of it really grabs me.
None of
grabs
it.
me.
None of it. Not
It's
like,
like
so.
they're not-
So you're watching
they're not
Schindler's List, and you're like, just nah, not for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I can kind of see how like everybody lifts him up on
It's-
a pedestal, and it's like universal
Exactly.
and stuff,
It's-
and like nobody is universal.
It's not that he's bad. It's just that for as much as people rate him, as much as the hype train is just dude hype o'clock. No,
So Jaws, not a fan.
it's not, again, not
Yeah,
that
it's
I'm not
not
a
binary.
fan, but everyone's like, if you watch a Steven Spielberg film, it's going to be like Raiders of the Lost Ark, and your face is going to melt off, and you better drink from the right chalice, motherfucker. And it's just,
So most
not that
overrated Steven Spielberg.
yeah, and not a fault of his own, just because the fan base is so just hype.
Okay, no,
Constantly.
I think that's valid and wrong, but
Oh.
Your opinion is incorrect. Thank you for sharing it. Now we all know you're an idiot.
all right, just go ahead and fade him out on the soundboard.
Yeah. See you later, Nick.
All right, Diggs, what is your most overrated director? Someone you just think is trash. Please don't say my channel. I have a very shallow ego.
All right, well, let me think now. I'd probably say Tim Burton. I think he lost his magic a long time ago, and people watch his shit just because of his name, and it's all trash.
No, I think that's pretty fucking valid, because like you got like Nightmare Before Christmas, which is really inventive. Because if you said today, if you were like, I'm gonna go out and make a movie with animatronic puppets and stop motion, and it's gonna be about Halloween and Christmas, people would go, you're fucking crazy.
And he still tries, and it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, but not in the good way. Kobold.
I honestly don't know. I nothing comes to mind.
That's fair.
We'll just say Ben Affleck.
Yeah, Ben Affleck.
Ooh!
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Map.
Wow.
Oh, God. All right, now I'm going to ask the editor who knows a lot about film.
Oh God. Now you put all that on my shoulders.
Yeah, well, you're the most qualified person here, so.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
It's the rumor.
So what is the most overrated director and why?
Most overrated director, I'd say, is Joss Whedon.
Bold.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The entire
he
country
made-
of Sweden?
Yeah, the entire the entire country. No, Joss Whedon, because I think he writes some pretty good stuff. I think he directs some pretty good stuff, but nothing like that's made me go, fuck, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
I agree. I think Joss Whedon's a way better writer than he is
I think I can agree with that.
I disagree with way better writer because I've seen Firefly. And,
That's true.
And
Maybe script-wise.
Yeah.
Press X to doubt.
Okay, fair enough.
If I had to write that on paper, Joss Whedon is a great screenwriter, there would be 12 asterisks behind that.
Okay.
And it'd be like, unless we are talking about the following film.
It's that research paper that you hated writing because the source material has like it's gone beyond stars and now it's like crosses and pentagrams and you're like, I don't even know.
Subheadings. Yeah.
No, and I feel like a lot of people put him up there with like some of the greats because like when the bar is set really low, like Zack Snyder, and I mean, they're like, oh yeah, he came back in and he redirected the movies. It's like, that's not a hard thing to do. Zack Snyder's like, I'm an edgy guy. Look at my edgy ass movies.
Edgy McEdgerson.
And no one likes them because they're fucking too much.
He has some pretty solid movies under his belt, though.
That's fair, but...
I'm going to reveal myself for the uncultured fuck that I am. Who is that?
He did like Alien Resurrection, The Avengers.
Okay.
Which technically saved Marvel after
fair.
a long, like, pretty much DC stuff that's going on right now.
As far as underrated goes, and this one's going to put me on a list.
Oh no, I have the list
Redacted.
here.
This is going to make a lot of people not like me. Most likely.
Like a watch list kind of list?
No, it's because I constantly look at it. I'm like, I'm just going to say Michael Bay. Underrated. And I'm not going to tell you know what? The reason why is because his movies and writing are garbage in terms of like...
that's the thing. Like he's all about show, but he does the show really well.
He is so good. His technical direction is so fucking good.
No.
If you really examine some of the behind the scenes
he's not talking about like the story or the action or any of the stuff that's shit in all of his movies. He's talking about like the special effects and the layout of the scenes and stuff.
I think that when he makes a film, there's the storyboard and it's up there and everything's in sequence. And then he has like 1,200 Post-it notes. And they say CGI explosion on them.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what would be great here when they're talking about important stuff? Boom. And he just keeps doing that.
Wow.
Do you think he puts them all on the end of darts and then he just blindfolds himself and just starts whipping them at the board?
Random explosions.
It's like sex scene explosion. Like, yeah, that's where we're putting it. No, the dart demands it.
How do we make the credits explode? I don't care.
No, and I'm saying like he's underrated because people just hate the movies that he makes because he picks really fucked up topics like Transformers, people's childhoods get stepped on. Yeah. No, I'm talking from like a pure production standpoint.
Right.
The dude knows what the fuck he's doing. He knows how to get people to pay attention.
All he's doing is cramming 400 explosions in one scene of a crap story.
I don't like any of his movies.
But he does that really well.
But I mean, like, it's also like
I don't like any of his movies,
shots.
but as a director, he knows what he's doing. And also, like, the John McTiernan is one of my favorites.
Really? Give us an example.
Die Hard.
Well, okay. There's one.
That's the only reason why I like him.
Okay, yes. So why didn't you say I like Die Hard?
I do. I love Die Hard. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I agree. It's a great Christmas film.
Yeah, I was about to say the same.
John McTiernan did a fantastic job on the first Die Hard, and he in my opinion, set the standards for action after that, which a lot of people tried to mimic and did it poorly.
All right, so that leads into my next question, which is, what is the best worst movie you like? And I mean,
worst movie?
Yeah. So I'm saying, here's how I qualify it.
Before we get into that, tell us your directors.
Yeah.
Most overrated. And I hate saying this, and I'm.
No wonder you try to get away.
I know.
It's okay, dude. After I said Michael Bay being underrated, people are going to hate me. So you're good.
I led
you're
with Spielberg being overrated.
Yeah,
so,
you're
between
in the
Mike
clear.
and I,
Most underrated because people forget about this motherfucker. They forget about him all the time. Is Wolfgang Peterson.
He's a really good chef.
No, that's Wolfgang Puck. Wolfgang Peterson did Das Boot. He did The Perfect Storm. He knows how to make a movie brilliantly, and then he disappears. And then he shows up again. And I think he's hugely underrated because he can do some amazing stuff. Then he just kind of disappears for a while.
Actually, I just looked up John McTiernan as well.
Oh, please.
He's done Predator. The Hunt for Red October.
Hunt for Red October, and the great soundtrack in that. Basil Polideris.
Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Not so great.
Last Action Hero.
Not so great.
Yeah, this starts to get worse and worse. The Thomas Crown Affair.
Not so great.
The 13th Warrior. Yeah, his
The
films-
13th Warrior was an amazing film.
So he's a one-hit wonder, is what you're telling me.
No, John McTiernan. Because I was
director.
I forgot all the other movies because I start thinking Die Hard. My brain immediately thinks about it.
No, and that's why I said what else, because the problem is that guy did like some good stuff and then he did some not so good stuff. Okay, so most underrated Wolfgang Peterson. Most overrated is I'm going to say this, and it's going to be Ridley Scott. I think Ridley Scott is hugely overrated because
agree with that.
he did 2 great movies. Mm-hmm. And then everything else has just been like, hey, you know how I did Alien? And everyone's like, yeah, that's fucking great. And then he goes, yeah, what if we went back and did a prequel? And everyone's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, sure.
What's your idea? Well,
Alien, but it's a
Different.
really big blue guy.
he's
white.
Yeah, he's
Gray.
he's a giant dude that's like ripped.
26 pack
asleep.
abs.
The perfect man.
A perfect man, and there's no alien in the whole fucking
Sorry,
movie
person.
except past the credits.
He flies a ship with a flute. It's a flute ship.
Yeah, he made an alien movie
Yeah.
without the alien.
It was at the end.
Yeah,
There's
past the credits.
That's like Phantasmagoria 2, A Puzzle of the Flesh. The whole game's a
giant
puzzle
killer
game.
starfish.
One puzzle at the end. A puzzle of the flesh.
A puzzle.
A single puzzle.
Yeah, but
Well,
that's like
true
saying
to the title.
That's like
it's
saying
in there,
Yeah,
and it's one.
But that's like saying
One
theater.
single puzzle.
It's like saying theater of the mind. Whenever I hear that, it's theater of the mind. I go, that's bullshit.
That's fair.
My
That
theater's
means
empty.
you're a laser.
Yeah.
You're lazy. Laser? Lazy. Larser.
Drink some more beer. This will make it great.
Yes.
So here's the next one. Best worst movie. In the best worst movie, I think is one of those movies you know is not great, but you love it, defects and all. And I will open up two of them. One is Robot Jocks, which is the closest thing we're ever going to get to a BattleTech movie, and it was made with almost no money, and it's fucking great from its cheesy soundtrack to its cheesy action. But the other one is Gentlemen Broncos, which is a love letter to pulp
Great
film.
movie.
Love letter to pulp sci-fi novels that I grew up with, and it's absolutely bonkers ridiculous. And if you ever want to see like a VTOL stag shoot missiles at someone, and I'm not having a fever dream, I have described exactly what happens in that. It's bonkers. So best worst movie or movies, Mr. Nick?
I'm going to have to say Kung Pao.
Enter the Fist.
Is that
'Cause-
good, best, or worst?
It's just a good,
worst.
terrible movie. Because it's...
Fair.
I cannot stand watching it, but I also can't stop laughing the whole time. Because it's so fucking preposterous. It's just so insane. And it's one of those things where, like, it's laughter not as a product of genuine comedy, but laughter is like a psychological mechanism where your brain's like,
Yeah, so your
this
brain-
doesn't
Why
make
is this
sense,
happening?
and I'm going to set myself on fire if I don't start laughing. So
Well, no, I get what you're saying. Your brain is like short circuiting.
Yeah.
And all
Yeah.
you can do is laugh. It's like watching a horrible car accident and everyone who gets out of the car is a clown. and you're like, oh my
And there's
God,
like
they're
30
maimed,
of
but
them.
they're clowns. And then, oh, he tripped on his clown shoes. And you're like, why?
Making little squeaky noises.
Yeah. Best worst movie, Dave.
All right, I got two.
Okay.
The John Travolta classic Battlefield Earth.
Oh, no.
I absolutely adore this movie. It is retarded beyond all hell, but I cannot stop watching it and going,
Don't you
"This
like rats, man brain?
It's just, I don't know what it is about it. I think it's just the fact that it's so absurdly terrible that
It is-
you
is
can't help
so
but enjoy
bad.
what you're watching.
It is so bad.
It is super bad. But then my more recent one was Speed Racer, the live action.
I forgot that existed.
And you probably should, but in reality, I thought it was a very fun, entertaining, and visually beautiful movie because it's about 99% green screen and crazy cartoon logic, which is amazing.
Well, it's like the
And
only
for
thing that's
me-
real is like the guy's clothes and the steering wheel. He's
Well, and every actor is standing in front of the green screen except the monkey. And then it's like, oh wow, this is really fun.
So you're telling me that's not a real monkey?
So I haven't seen this, but
it's probably a real monkey.
I
Not always though.
I haven't seen this, but is it like the kind of green screen where like
They have a halo around them.
yeah, you can just tell that it's like two guys on like a set, and then the green screen stuff is in the background.
Everything is a green screen. Even, they're standing in a house, and like as they walk, it kind of like shifts wrong. The background's weird. It's super vibrant, like a utopian future with race cars is like the main sport. And
That's
obviously
awesome.
it's Speed Racer, so you're like, all right, Mach 5, woo! And let me get my brother back, woo! And at the end, you're just like, wow, that was an episode.
Oh man,
That's quality.
that's an interesting answer.
I say watch it.
I forgot that movie existed. Like my brain was like, nope.
Yeah, you brought back a memory that was dead to us.
At least it's not like Avatar, the live action, or Dragon Ball live action.
Well, I had a problem with Avatar, the just Avatar, the 2009 Avatar.
Yeah.
I tried to remember that movie. I tried the other day.
Blue people?
Yeah. The camp people. The
If you want to know, I can tie my knot to your hair.
Yeah, they had
Yeah.
hair
I
sex.
see.
Yeah, they had
Jake
hair
Sully.
sex. And no, what drove me crazy about that movie is I can't remember any plot point about it other than like there's camp people in the woods. Then Fern Gully happens.
Dude, it's unobtainium.
I was
The whole thing
just
is about-
about to
woods.
say the fact that unobtainium is used unironically in the plot means
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
it
it's
is
a real
absolute
metal.
throwaway garbage.
Well, yeah, and if
Big
he
tree.
well, if he had said in that movie, it is like unobtainium. This is impossible to obtain anywhere else, and that if he had just written it as that, it would have worked. But he was like, "No, this is literally unobtainium, and
It's very valuable.
and it's under Fern Gully."
This is placeholderium.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
MacGuffium.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's what they might as well have called it. I
Yeah, they
remember I
should.
was confused in the theater, and I looked at the screen like a dog looks at like when you make a weird noise at a dog and it cocks its head. I was like, did he just fucking say that?
Yeah.
What?
No, so when I saw that movie, I was cheering on the humans because I was hoping when all those helicopter gunships came in, it was gonna play like Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Oh, napalm.
Yeah,
Well,
just
they've always said like the sequel to Avatar is nuclear missiles.
Yeah.
yeah, it sounds great.
They're like, oh, we won. Oh, yeah, you've never heard of this thing called orbital bombardment.
Yeah, all I have to do is put garbage in a scow and drop it on your planet because I can come down there in a spacesuit. You can't breathe vacuum.
Exterminatus.
Exterminated.
there you go.
So,
I need rocks, not
So-
green shit.
best worst movie Kobold.
So I don't think this is as extreme as the ones you guys have said, but can I say the Trimmer series as a whole?
I love Tremors.
Yeah.
Like the first
Yeah.
one is I absolutely love it. It's
Great
a classic
movie.
movie.
Great movie.
And then the series keeps going on, and the quality
Yeah.
starts wavering
Well,
really
yeah,
badly.
'cause there
But
was-
it's just so fun to watch. Like they had all these weird technological things they tried and
Yeah.
didn't work, and it just kind of exemplifies B movie to me.
Well, exactly. Because like at one point it's a Western.
Yeah,
They just ran out of ideas.
and they have like this really really bad 3D animation in one of them.
All I'm saying is it's pretty much standing on a roof movie.
Yeah, and I love it.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I'll give you that. Director, best worst movie.
Oh, best worst.
Yeah.
So obviously I gave myself away by saying Die Hard because that's my favorite movie. As far as it being the best movie that I can share with people, Die Hard, because you can take that with your family and everyone can watch together and everyone has a great time. I like Die Hard, but I can rank them for you because I feel like that's
So
I can still hear you.
you're doing a creative ranking of Die Hard.
Yeah.
So,
And
so not Die Hard, Die Hards.
no, yeah, Die Hard. So the first Die Hard being my favorite, and that one's the one you could share with everybody, and everyone has a good time.
It's a Christmas movie.
You can, yeah, exactly.
is. It's
you
not
could share
Christmas.
Die Hard with a Vengeance. That one's
Yeah.
fucking solid. Then you have Live Free or Die Hard, which that one was one of the newer ones, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't like." I like it because it felt like they were trying really hard to bring back the Die Hard, but with a modern sense. And I think Timothy Oliphant playing the bad guy just felt like it felt like the wrong fit, but it was funny to watch.
well, yeah, because Timothy Oliphant is Agent 47.
No. Yeah, and then after that, it's the second Die Hard movie because I don't like Die Hard in an airport at all. And then the one after that's the one where he's in Russia, where he's like, "I'm on vacation," and that's just horrible.
So,
But yeah, and as far as worst movies go, oh, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
well, just best worst. You know the movie's a flaming pile of garbage, but you love it anyways.
Oh,
That's more the question. And
Die Hard's great.
Die
even
Hard's
if you
great.
don't like it.
Yeah.
but it's not. trash.
I know the movie's a flaming pile of garbage. That's a pretty low fucking
Yeah,
movie.
no, but I mean,
that's the point.
Yeah, that's the point. You don't.
Oh,
care
you're saying
'cause
like
you-
best? Okay, I see what
Best,
you mean.
worst.
I
This is
misunderstood.
awful. I love
Yeah, no, it's fine. We get you love Die Hard. You've
Yeah.
spoken passionately.
But
About,
do you like Die Hard?
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, best worst.
Best
Star
worst.
Trek 4.
really?
Best worst. It's a terrible movie in terms of Star Trek,
Yes, because
but it's
they-
the most fun to watch because they go back in time to 1980s and they're like nuclear vessels. It's fun, but it's not good.
Is that the whale one?
Yeah, that's the whale one where they're like the aliens sent a giant probe to Earth. What's it look like? Foil covered toilet paper tube has
Yeah.
a ball on it.
It looks like okay. It feels like so they've tried to make an original series episode in the 80s.
Yeah, no,
that's-
that feels like an original series. Yeah,
That's what it feels like. The one after that is just bad.
yeah. What does God need with a starship? Yeah, the Star Trek.
But
5
yeah,
is
that, if
bad.
I misunderstood the question. So
No,
yeah,
no, it's
best,
fine.
Best worst
It's-
movie would be
it's
Star
fine.
Trek 4, The Journey Home or The Search for Home.
Search for
Going
plot.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
here's my next question. Because we all play the Star Trek game, except for Nick, who was a random guest character.
I did the Star Trek.
Yeah,
I
you
did that
you did
once.
play the Star Trek game.
You were a great Italian chef.
Thank
no,
you.
that was Goat.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's Orion's character in general. He's like, "Weren't you the Italian chef? Didn't you get
Were you a
stabbed?"
Vulcan?
No.
So
I'll give you a hint.
Then
9.
Crow's character. Hey,
7?
you're green, right?
wow.
Oh, you're the Borg guy. Look.
No, you played the German guy that was frozen.
Oh
Yeah.
I remember that guy.
Yeah.
I remember
He's still
that
alive.
happened one time.
Oh,
They were
Ryan
re-educating him.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds charming. like
God.
like North
Re-educated
Korea.
I
Yeah,
love
German
the
guy.
Federation.
Yeah, okay.
So,
boy.
Star Trek has had some issues in recent years with a show called Discovery and a show called Picard.
Yeah.
It's been a long road. Fucking
Hate that
Enterprise.
theme so much.
No,
Hard
it-
eggs.
yeah. So they had some really bad shows, and so I'm saying we all love Star Trek. And we all love Star Trek enough to actually play shit like Star Trek Online.
Ooh, yeah.
So,
I don't know what you're talking about. I totally don't.
yeah, it's
play-
right there on your desktop there. And so here's what I'm thinking is if you had to write a Star Trek show, what would it be about? Where would it be set? And better yet, if you have the mind for it, cast the show.
Ooh.
So I'll start because I've given some thought to this.
Did you do best worst movie?
Yeah,
Did you?
Gentlemen
started
Broncos, man. I
Oh,
started.
right, you did.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
God, get on it.
Mike's not very good at
Mike's Mike?
memory.
Mike is like, so we're about to start.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Can we get a sound check?
Yeah.
I can't wait to come visit Tex, you guys. I'm excited.
Oh my god. Oh, I forgot. We got to put our on-air thing on.
Yeah, because that's
Now
really
we're on
important
air.
for
We
the
are
people on
officially on
podcast.
air.
We are now officially
Yeah.
on air.
He has a little
Welcome to the
sign.
podcast.
Yeah. All right, so you were saying?
Yeah. So if I was going to do Star Trek, I would have started it with the NCC 1701 Enterprise gets decommissioned, and at its decommission ceremony, they launch a new ship, like an Excelsior class or what have you. They launch that motherfucker, and it's the people who came after Kirk having to go out into the galaxy and deal with all the aftermath of like the Piece of the Action episode. They have to go to that planet and they have to solve that shit.
That
They
would be
have-
fucking brilliant.
No, so they have to solve all of the problems that Kirk set out. And you see why there is a prime directive. Because Kirk can't be trusted. So, they go to a planet and they're like, yeah, this guy tore our system of belief down. He destroyed our Bible and our God, and then he left. And, well, we don't know what to do. And so
So we have these 8 kids that look like him.
Yeah, exactly. He said it was his way. But no, I would do that. The captain would be Christoph Waltz.
Nice. Good choice.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'd basically say play Hans Landa, the captain. So he'd be like, "Oh, I see you have taken my main prisoner. Fair. Let me introduce you to the phaser." You know, just
A magical invention.
yeah. And then I'd have, God, I'd probably have Chris Pratt as the XO.
I feel like he'd be good at that.
Yeah, just
Yeah, because you got to have a little comic relief in there.
yeah.
And for Admiral, that would be Seth MacFarlane.
No,
Yeah.
He's already in his own
No,
stuff.
and he's only going to be in one episode because
No.
he wanted to be a part of it.
no, he's already got his own Star Trek
I know.
show that's
They're
better
like,
than
oh,
Discovery.
I couldn't get in.
I know,
I'll make
he
you my
does.
own.
But I'm saying, like, you gotta give the guy one little cameo.
Yeah, no, I would. I
Just
would
be like, no, you making the janitor?
yeah, no, just
Make him a
Space
red
Station.
shirt.
Yeah.
But make his janitor like the janitor in Scrubs, where he just looks at the camera and talks.
I would do it. I would make him as a red shirt who gets shot.
Oh,
and
yeah.
as he dies, he's like, "What is this fucking her?"
Perfect.
Just turns into vapor.
Just like just extraneous for no reason hull breach while they're in dry dock, and he's the only person that gets sucked out.
He only had one casualty. And they show his picture, and he's like, "Hey, I just got married.
I had 2 weeks of retirement.
I had a last name and everything."
Oh,
Anyway.
ouch!
All right, so Nick, Star Trek.
I would want to do something from the point of view of not the Federation.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think there's a lot of ground cover there.
So you have a Borg episode where it's,
No,
it's
I
just,
didn't see. I think everybody would want to do like the Borg story, but that's going to be like really kind of bland because once you meet the Borg, you already know what they're all about, right?
I'm a
Like
Borg.
assimilate everything, and that's pretty much it. I think
Make a drama series inside a cube.
that
Well,
would be
like,
that
you
would be
were in my
hilarious.
charge.
You tell the
chamber.
story of the Borg by telling the story of everybody but the Borg.
I like that
Yeah.
idea because you could play as a new alien race.
Well, actually, I think
That would be a
it'd
good one. A new race trying to enter the Federation.
I think it would be fun to do either one as the Klingons from the Klingon point of view.
Yeah.
that would be interesting.
It's just a lot of challenging and fighting.
Yeah.
Well, but you take it back to the original series days where they made first contact with the Federation. So you see, like, oh, why are they such assholes all the time? And there's maybe
and
some.
it could always be like splinter groups or whatever.
Well, and
Yeah.
you get to see the other side of all the events through the movies, like the peace accords and everything. So there's plenty of room for political drama, action, things like that. You get to see the effect of different events
We
on the
always
actual
see
Klingon
like the
Empire.
big brutish honor duel type Klingons because
Right.
those are the guys crewing the military ships that we always see. Maybe
Yeah.
there's a whole different
Well,
side.
yeah.
to it.
How do you
Well,
like?
Klingons have a very rich culture
Yeah,
in the
like
in the
where's
actual
their
setting.
where's their
They're just-
scientists? Where's their
actually-
poets?
They're
you
very
know?
intense because they're very short-lived as a people. But I also think it would be cool if you went into the Deep Space Nine races like the shapeshifters and the Cardassians, and you explored some of what happened before the Federation.
Nick, the
out
Kardashians
that
have their
way.
own TV show.
Oh, really? I'm not.
I wish I had my soundboard so I'd be
the-
like, dur.
But yeah, that's
sorry.
what I think the Klingon one would be the most intriguing for me. I don't know about cast though. That would be tough.
4 people are played by Worf.
All right, here I'm throwing it out. All right. Wild card. Ron Perlman,
Ron Perlman.
He already has the head.
Yeah, he does.
Chancellor Martok, Ron Perlman.
He has
That's
a head.
probably a bad
All they got to
idea.
do is like paint. He's gonna find out about us and beat this shit out.
No,
I
he,
would not
no,
wanna fight
he
him.
plays
He's
the
scary.
only
Mind me.
human who has a command in the Klingon Empire.
Oh my god.
And he's got like the leather jacket on, and he's just like such a badass.
That would be pretty interesting.
That's
the deep
rough.
cover agent that got found but fought honorably his way out of being in trouble, and he just punches people in the mouth.
No, I'm in charge. Damn it.
Yeah.
With his Hellboy fist.
For no reason. For no reason.
Has it?
He has
I don't know
his
where
hell.
this came from.
What would be weirder if he had the Hellboy fist or the Hellboy like broken horns?
For no reason.
But it's the horns, but they're like, since he's not all huge and red, they're just anatomically correctly sized. So it's just like cow horns, and they're just
Nice.
broken.
I like the idea of the Hellboy fist. Like, yeah. They're like, what are you gonna do about it, human? He's like, this, and he like punches a guy into space.
If somebody makes fun of him, he's like, I have a condition, and that's accepted back on Earth where I come from. It's a utopian planet.
Two things I don't like: people different from me and Klingons.
God.
That's all I got. What about you, Diggs?
Can I unmake some shows? 'Cause I
Yeah.
think that's
Ooh, you know what?
I would,
Yeah.
Hey, take the
I would
headache.
make all
your
of
plot
Enterprise
scissors.
gone. I would make like the first 3 seasons of Voyager gone. I would take out all of Discovery and Picard and just
Wow.
pretend none of that existed and just say, "Hey, that was a good ending."
So
Good
so
argument.
rather than make something,
I would unmake things.
that's
hey, you
bold. I accept that strategy.
It's
I like it.
the sign of a true engineer.
Indeed.
It's not what you can add, but what you can take away, isn't that right?
Less is more.
Well, after because of the Star Trek game and having talked with Crow about it, I think that I would probably like to see a series focused on the Gorn. And it's not just like a lizard man thing or whatever.
No.
I think it could be a really interesting like mini series or something, because you have the hegemony and it's like a sizable section of space.
Yeah, and they
there's
never talk about it.
Yeah, and there's almost nothing about it, and there's obviously a lot of variation to them. So there's going to be like all these large feuding empires within it, and they have interactions with both the Federation and the Klingons, and like there's just so much that could happen within that.
That could be interesting. I mean, it's never been explored.
Yeah.
No,
They brought it up on Picard. I saw Gorn egg twice, and they brought up the Gorn twice in conversation. So obviously they're pretty important.
they're,
the
they're
main
pop
thing-
culture
Season 2,
references.
Gorn attack.
Yeah, the main thing I've seen about Picard is that like everywhere I look, it's like Picard has stomped all over the lore in this way and that way and this way.
It's pronounced Pickard. Q
Pickard?
said
Yeah.
so.
Sorry, Pickard.
No.
Mr. Pickard.
Gene Luck Pickard, as Q said so, and he's all knowing, so I think he's right.
You would know.
Yeah.
You told me that you would have my rent on time, Mr. Pickard. Oh, we're working on a play together with our blind man.
God, that was hilarious.
Yeah, no, that was a good two-parter. I like that. No, and I was gonna say the Gorn actually have technology comparable to the Federation at
Yeah.
the time when
Yeah,
they
they-
made
Yeah,
contact.
they're like a serious player in the original series, but there's nothing about
well,
it.
and
all they
start-
had was the one costume, so they couldn't show
Yeah,
more than one
yeah.
of them.
Yeah, it's purely
Why
like
is it hard?
technological limitations.
They're all invisible.
Cost prohibitive.
No, and they could have
Chameleon.
Star Trek Online. They like make it like, oh no, they're just part of the Klingon Empire. The Klingons just beat them, and I'm like, I don't know about that.
Lizard Man.
I don't know if they would, because I mean, the Federation had trouble dealing with them, but
Gorn pack some pretty serious firepower, don't they?
yeah, their ships are pretty. I mean, they're very.
I mean, they do
tribal,
have
but-
boulders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah, they have the best music.
Until you like ear slap them, and then they're fucked.
Well, it's or
No one can resist the power of the Kirk double fist.
Yeah.
God, that double. I love in some of those scenes where they like kick off the wall and jump on people, and you see the wall move, and you're like, oh shit!
There's like 2 interns behind there go,
Hold the wall up. He's gonna throw himself at it. All right, Mike, you're a huge Trek fan.
Yeah.
Hit me with that if you can make a Trek series.
Yeah,
So if I was to do a Trek series, I like Nick's idea. That was actually part of mine, but it would be more like you're playing an alien species very similar to humans. They always do like little wrinkled nose or like a little dot on their face or something. Yeah.
like,
yeah,
just a pattern difference on
Yeah.
the skin.
yeah.
Yeah, and I like the pattern idea better than prosthetics, because then you just paint them and it's on. I like
Yeah,
the,
spray paint them. Just say
the
close your
troll
eyes.
cheetah lines. I like those are cool.
Yeah.
But no, I would have them, but they'd be somewhere undiscovered from the Federation, and the Romulan Empire is the only thing they know about.
Are they pre-warp or are they just getting warp? Like,
They just got warp.
so it's just like
They're going to go explore, and they meet the Federation for the first time. And they're like, wow, these guys sound great. And then they meet their people, and they are living in an economy. They have like money, and they have all this stuff and trade. And they're like, well, we'll give you some replicators. And like, well, all we have is this much money. They're like, no, we don't want money. And they're like,
So it destroys their whole system of belief.
they're just a planet of Detroit.
Ouch.
basically, they're just like a normal, like, imagine the way I would put it is, it's like if we left Earth today and then we met the Federation.
I like that.
And they're like, here, have food. And we're like, it's a box.
Yeah. Would we trust them? Probably not. And also we know about the Romulan Empire because we met them first. We're that close to them. And
They don't like humans.
they're sneakier about it because they're like, we're gonna annex your planet. We have more powerful ships. It's kind of like you can see the enemy on the horizon, and they're coming at you, but they're not like overtly attacking you because you have no way to defend yourself. You're just using like, just warp 2 ships
and
with
with
like lasers on them.
Oh yeah.
With the Romulans, like everything they say is twisting words and like you know, working behind your back and stuff. So that would set them on a mindset of be suspicious of everyone you meet.
And I would make it in the same era that Voyager, Deep Space Nine, and the Next Generation are in. That's that same era.
That's interesting.
I would probably say if they met the 38 special, they wouldn't be ready for it.
No,
because as we've
but
demonstrated,
that's what I would do. Is I would give them like projectile-based firearms. When they go up against like the Federation or whatever, or like the Romulans, and they're like using lasers, they're just like boom, boom.
Like it's Saving Private Ryan style gunfight.
Yeah.
And it just like, and the Federation's like, oh my God, they've got hand grenades.
Yeah. We all like look back. We're like, is somebody coming?
Yeah, we're
can't hear anything.
We're all hunkered in the bunker here.
I heard thumping. I got startled.
No, it's all right. I've got the go away stick in the next room. A fire stick.
But yeah, I'd play something like that. That's what I would have do.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Because then you get to meet the Federation as an outsider. You get to meet the Romulans as an outsider, and maybe even the Klingon Empire.
That's really interesting because it would show what that's like, how terrifying that would be as a civilization that still has, an economy, money, has never been exposed to anything other than their own people. And then all of a sudden you find like, oh yeah, these people just make food out of air.
Well, it's like you're saying, it would be horrifying on both ends because you've also got these people with this primitive but destructive weaponry and fighting tactics and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, imagine the culture. I mean, you can relate to the Klingon because they're battle and they probably went through a history of like medieval times like that.
Yeah.
So they can see the honor in it. And humans would show like probably advanced version where they would be at some point. And then you got the Romulan who are pretty much just like angry Vulcans. But then imagine you actually met a Vulcan. Then that's a whole nother culture shock. It's like, what do you mean you don't have emotion?
No, we have them. We just choose not to.
And that will blow someone's mind who's like emotionally based like most primitive people.
And people might say, well, that sounds a lot like Enterprise. But the thing is with Enterprise is that their ships were equipped with far better technology than where I would set them.
Well, that and the other thing about
and they also met the Vulcans, and they were better prepared for it. I mean, a civilization that's not ready.
Well,
you're talking like
they kind of
weaponized
undermined
space
all
shuttle
the points that
type
you
of
made.
shit.
Yeah.
No, and that's the thing about Enterprise is that like if they had done the lead up to the Romulan War that is huge in the Star Trek lore, that would have been awesome. And they were kind of laying the pieces to that, but instead they were like, what about the Xindi Cold War? What about a temporal cold? And I'm like, boring. It's just, you would watch episode after episode, and it'd be like, this mysterious man from the future speaks through a space radio.
Yeah. Well, and also Enterprise, they had colonies at that point. They were already making trade with other places.
Yeah,
I mean, these guys would be fresh out of water, and they're like, well, we want to go and try to find other resources because our planet is crowded and we have money problems and nations still fight each other. But we're going to explore.
Like, what's money?
So they hit like warp 1 and then they're like, Romulan's like,
fresh meat.
easy
Yes.
target.
Blood in the water. Blood in the water. Yeah.
That's exactly how they would think too.
Yeah, exactly. So next topic, we're all very new to this podcast thing. We've listened to a lot of podcasts, and we don't know what we're doing.
Get on the gorilla thing.
Yeah. So I'll just be like,
Time to bring up our sponsor, Piss Energy Drink, the only energy drink with saturated fat.
yeah, but we've got the monitor here, so Mike can bring up stuff like Jamie, so we can be like, yeah, bring up that gorilla,
Yeah.
tearing that guy apart. Have you talked about DMT
For Bro Gogan.
for Bro Dogan?
Yeah.
So here's the thing: is that we're all creative in our own ways, and we've all done a lot of really interesting things. But
Are you sure about that?
well, no, I've been doing this for 9 years.
Raising the bar for me here, easy killer.
Well, no, I've been doing this for 9 years, and it's one of those things where I don't know what's what. But Diggs did something interesting, and I think this could be a fun discussion to kind of round things out because
You have no proof.
well, here's one of the things I thought about was you started using that RPG maker to make a BPL RPG.
Ooh.
And I said, what if there was a Black Pants Legion RPG?
Oh man.
What would that game be like? Who would you play as? What would the objective be?
Well,
Where would
obviously would be the leader of the Black Pants Legion.
who is that guy?
I haven't met him yet,
Yeah,
but I'm sure it's Tom.
Yeah, it's probably Tom.
Yeah, he farts a lot.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
Tom,
sure we have a
Tom has some
fart-based leadership
great
structure.
taste in hatchbacks and farts. So
Yeah.
But in reality, obviously, it would probably be something along. The setting is kind of up in the air because your game genre goes everywhere.
yeah,
You
it
play
does.
medieval games like Kingdom Come, and then you play games like SS13 and
Yeah,
BattleTech, and it's such like an area which you can explore. But I don't feel like it should be like a YouTuber's journey because I feel like that's like
because that's
oh,
a
here's
journey.
story.
That's a journey in depression and madness.
Yeah, which is, and I definitely don't want to put it on your life because your life is a worse depression madness.
Thank you.
Track.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
No, it's true because it's like any YouTuber has a choice at a certain point where it's, do you chase trends to remain relevant, and you chase that relevance and you chase that market share, or you do what you like. And sometimes when people do what they like, they are in a happy place because that actually is popular. What they do naturally is really cool. Like there's a channel I watch where a guy is a really brilliant chemistry expert. And so when he starts talking about chemistry, that's just what he normally does. He's a chemist, and watching that is really interesting. But then you have the other side of things where you have to constantly chase trends and you have to constantly chase to be relevant. You have to constantly chase all that stuff. And if you're no longer relevant, no one pays attention to you, and you spent all this time and effort to only watch it slip away. And so, that's also the same as living your life.
Yeah.
Like, do I choose to better myself, or do I choose to stay where I am? And which is going to make me ultimately more happy?
Happiness should be, if it's not your job, it should definitely be something you enjoy. So
Yes.
going your happiness route or something you're comfortable with is always preferred.
I agree with that because everyone has a happy place. And
But at the same time, that's a lot easier said than done.
Absolutely.
It's hard to convince yourself how to follow that.
Absolutely. Because I hate when people go, all you got to do is be happy. It's not that hard. And it's like,
Stop
Just
being
stop
sad.
being sad.
yeah, yeah. Stop being sad. Just
Stop
turn that-
fucking crying.
Have you tried not being depressed?
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Get the Switch.
The Nintendo Switch, I'd be hurt to get hit by.
I got one.
It's
right over
fucking
here.
angular.
They're expensive.
Buy
No.
another one.
So, going back to this game idea.
Yeah. BBL
what-
RPG.
Something leaps out at me. We've had the discussion in the past of what would we do if we won the lottery, and a few different people have brought up this idea of like building a compound or a settlement or something where we can just all like hang out.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a
And
fort.
So
Like a dwarf fort.
imagine, take RimWorld, make it less random, retarded, and
And add
imagine
taxes. That's real.
Imagine like take the traits that are prevalent in the BPL and you have to manage those.
Oh, no.
Like you have people that are going to tend to hoard things. You have people that are going to cause like random chaos. and-
Okay, let's follow this because this is exciting. Let's say we have a survival fortress game like Dwarf Fortress, like RimWorld.
Yeah.
And you have all of these elements you have to keep. So like the gun people have to have ammo, or they start acting weird, or
Yeah.
like Canute has a board meter. You know,
Yeah.
they'll be like, and it just says orb, and it just starts going.
His carrying capabilities like cut in half because he always has the full Cards Against Humanity in his pack.
And you know, like
Yeah.
those are common things in the Legion. Just
Yeah.
those people are the ones that we see that exemplify them.
Well, yeah, Legion has its own weird culture
Yeah.
because a lot of people want to join the Black Pants Legion, and they find their way in, which we're not going to talk about because the way is out there. But we have our way in, and people who find their way in, and Diggs is one of the people who is a gatekeeper, and they people don't realize that when you get in, you get interviewed. And they ask you many questions to try to determine your personality. And it's not, are you cool or not? We don't give a fuck. We don't care if you're successful or not. We don't care if you're rich or not.
Don't be a shitlord.
I
Yeah,
just want you to be honest up front and display yourself as someone worth interacting with. Because
Yeah.
if you're just going to be like, oh, I like your vids, it's like no one
Yeah.
wants to interact with you
Yeah,
anyways.
and that happens in Space Station 13, where I have someone comes up and is like, hey, I love your videos. And I'm like, thank you. I'm trying to shoot one right now. And they're like, oh, cool. You know, so I say,
Can I
thank
be
you.
in it?
Well, yeah, it's like that
you
one
are.
guy drew that amazing art.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
the alien.
With the alien that's like everyone's murdered in the background, and I'm walking around like an idiot with a smart gun, and the guy goes, I love your vids. That has happened. And it's just one of those moments, which is really weird. So the people who try to get in just to talk to me don't stay, because I don't see myself as like above people. I just like playing games with people. I don't want to be like, this is my private Discord where you can hang out. And
This is not a fan club. It's a gaming community.
correct.
And
I spent all this time to talk to this guy, and I'm fucking bored.
besides,
this is
most
shit.
people don't even watch Texas stuff. So it's like,
Yeah,
you know,
and
welcome.
Yeah, and it's, well, I would say about half.
I know more of them do. There's an inside joke
Well, yeah,
inside where
that's-
everyone goes, oh, we put up videos, I stopped watching.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things, is it's like the Legion culture is really weird. Whereas, so someone's like, hey, have you seen this Tex episode? And a new person will say that, and the old salty fuck will be like, who's Tex? and so I just think that's great, because we have our own weird culture. We have all these weird memes that do not make sense to outsiders, and we can always tell, because we'll be like, praise Zorg when something blows up, and people will be like, yeah, that Zorg guy, and we're like, you didn't use the correct spelling of it. They're like,
Yeah.
no, I spelled it right. And we're like, no, you
The
didn't.
classic capital Z or O.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
nah.
No, you fucked up.
My favorite is people are like, oh man, they'll talk to me about Space Station 13, and I guess they assume that because you and I are roommates, that I do all the things that you do and vice versa, and they're like, oh man, that Space Station. I don't even know. I can't even give an example because I don't know shit. I don't play Space Station.
I get the
13.
same thing, and I edit the BattleTech videos. People ask me like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
"What do you know about BattleTech?" I'm like, "Hey,
what's
you know,
your favorite way to robust people?" And I'm like, I fucking hate that game. And they're like, just it's like I slapped them in the face. They
No,
just can't comprehend.
Nick had a very brief but very full Space Station 13 career.
This is like 2 weeks. It
And-
was
and he- No, very
Scooter the drunk janitor.
Scooter the janitor.
My
from-
claim to fame
Yeah.
is that I started around, someone stole the pussy wagon. I went to the bar and got shithouse drunk, and I spent the rest of the round replacing light bulbs, and I kept yelling about people knocking them out. I had no idea that there was like some like creature of darkness that was trying to take over the station.
Yeah, and
then
so
I like single-handedly
saved the
defeated just
station.
because I'm some redneck idiot with a bottle of whiskey putting lights in. And
Yeah, but that really does. Against
yeah.
Shadowlings, that's
Yeah.
the best way to deal with it. You probably killed them at some point.
And that's just kind of the chaos of Space Station 13. You never know when this
Dynamic
completely clueless
storytelling.
guy.
Dynamic storytelling is the masterful art of it. So that's what I love about it, is you played a guy who had his janitor cart stolen, who decided to just get shithouse drunk, came full terms with the fact that his job is meaningless. And then goes, fuck it, I'm just going to do the best job I can. You probably killed that monster.
which is the next layer deeper in that is I, as a player, did not know what I was doing. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck, I guess this will end and I'll go play some Battlefield or whatever.
Well, right. But that's the thing, is that like the Legion has its own weird culture with a lot of stuff, you know, with like side corn and all these other weird things. And people don't get it.
Put it on its side.
Put it on its side.
Put the corn on its side.
Yeah, mate. Oh, God. Yeah, and that's the thing, is everyone knows that story. So I guess I'll tell the sidecorn story and share it with an outsider in full. This is the one I will give you. My grandfather, when he was old, he lived in his nursing home, and I visited him several times a week, and we hung out with him. And he would always tell tall tales, and he was a storyteller, and he loved telling stories. And so he went home to his childhood home within the last year of his life and revisited those old places that were very precious to him. And when he went to go do that, he told me about this corn. And he looked like he had seen the face of God. Like it was just such a delightful thing to him. So he goes, oh man, that corn, you put it on its side, put some butter up it. You just take a hot knife and cut down that side corn. You put it in your mouth, make it taste so good, make you want to shoot yourself.
What?
And so I told the story to
back
people.
up.
Yeah, so I told the story to people. And people are like, your grandfather went to his childhood home ate corn on its side and said it was so good he wanted to kill himself. And I said, yeah. And so somebody said, side corn is the real shit. And so from that moment, that becomes a Legion meme. So we've got an emote for side corn, put the corn on its side. It's just this weird little culture where we don't really use memes from outside our group.
I mean, they leak in here and there, but a majority of ours are very homemade.
Well, that's what I mean is they pass through. It's like, show me the way, that whole Knuckles thing or whatever. I don't know.
I don't know why I laugh so much at that.
It's because it's retarded.
That's a good reason.
Because there's something stupid where you're like, wow, that guy fell down the stairs, and you're like, gravity sucks, and then you start laughing at it because he was like holding a wedding cake or whatever, or a bunch of knives. But
whatever.
But it's one of those things where they pass through. They had their brief moment. Okay, look, we've seen all the deviations of it. And then it goes away.
But then Sidecorn, that's years old at this point and still like precious.
Yeah, and same with Zorg, same with all of these things. And I remember what episode Zorg was referenced in, and and then I ran a cult in EVE Online based on prophecy, and it worked.
Unfortunate nicknames that people acquire based on not knowing certain definitions of phrases.
That was the other thing. Is like the Legion renames people like a fraternity.
Yeah.
People get a name, and the people who get mad and change it back don't stay because they're like, oh, these guys keep renaming this dumb.
Well, but we changed it, so now they can't.
Yeah.
Well, I do notice when people try, though, and I have a list.
But that's the thing is that everyone gets a name, everyone gets a weird name, and it's like fraternity, and it's earned when you do something fucking stupid. Like, and God.
I will redact that one thing really quick. If someone is in the Legion long enough to maintain their name, and that's what they're known by, that technically just ends up being their Legion name.
That's fine. That's fine. But sometimes people choose a name online, and you can tell when they made a name when they were much younger.
Yeah, everybody. It's like, why do you have 1730 in there? It's like, because all the other Joshes were taken.
Or XX underscore and Blood Assassin 969. I'm like, you are named Peanut.
I think it's the takeaways. Everybody comes in with a name of some kind, but it does not stick.
There was that ad block guy who was the Raid Shadow Legends guy. When he first came in, he was in German. It was like Shadow Blade Edge Hand or something crazy.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I thought it sounded cool like 10, 20 or 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then I kept making the joke. It's like, that sounds like a Raid Shadow Legends hero. And then he changed his name to Raid Shadow Legends. And the only joke he said for a while was that. So then we just renamed him Adblock.
Well, or that guy Otto in the Legion. I renamed him as the Grand Theft Auto, OTTO, as a German. He's like, oh, this is so funny. And his icon is Otto von Bismarck. So you look up and you have a down day and you look up and see that. And it's like, oh my God, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that does make me chuckle every time I see it.
Yeah,
me too.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing with the Legion is like, we all stick together in ways that a lot of, because I've been in a lot of gaming communities, guilds, World of Warcraft, EVE, all these other things. And, all they tell me, all they teach me is that these things don't last.
They flew.
Even when you get a really good, like, close-knit one and, like, you're all good friends, then, like, if something happens to that game, like, that game changes or goes away, the group will still generally break up. And, like, you might have a couple friends stay together, but you're just going to dissipate.
No, and that's absolutely correct. And the Legion stays together.
Yeah, like, if Space Station 13, BattleTech, Zomboid, anything like that just disappeared tomorrow, we'd still be together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're brought together by very niche games in general. Yeah. Even though you do play, you can end up playing some pretty popular ones. In the end of the day, these people join because they enjoyed that content because they like that game. And when they join, it's more of a chance that they're going to like other games that the community already plays.
Well,
and they're always going to find someone to play with.
Right. And that's kind of how YouTube used to be. Like in the old days, YouTube was, if you go down these rabbit holes of like and similar things, you'd find new and amazing shit. Before the algorithm, before the dark times.
And now it just kind of spins you in a circle.
Yeah. Well, because it's like, hey, you like this weird thing about algebra? Well, here's Logan Paul sucking farts. And you're like, well, I don't think, okay, I'll watch it. And, it's one of those things where, you realize you're getting pushed on. So the Legion also feels like the old internet to me. And I mean, before the internet became mainstream, before the Reddit internet, before the Facebook internet, it reminds me of the old BBS boards. It reminds me of these really weird communities that are hidden, and you have to find them, and you have to earn a way in, and you have to work to stay. Mm-hmm. And they're really loyal communities, but they're crazy because they do really weird shit. Like, for example, we recently started putting up Project Zomboid because we realized that with everything that's going on in the world right now, and people are really nervous, they're spending a lot of time home, we said, how would we prepare people to survive the downfall of society, and also have fun? And so we put up a Project Zomboid server, and we had a great time with it. And so in the first 5 minutes,
we had 2 clans.
We separated into tribes.
We had a group of people who were determined to work together, and a group of people who were not determined to pilfer from the group that worked together, but just determined to kill each other.
Yeah.
Well, they were,
join this gang if you want to fight other people constantly. Well, what about the people that have all the medicine? No, you leave them alone. They're having fun. But if you want to kill each other,
yeah. So there was the Fight Club clan that decided they ambushed me right as I get in, and they all have axes, and they're like, hey, give me your beans. And I'm like, I don't have any beans. And they're like, oh, fuck. And then they ran off. And then there's the other group where you guys find the fucking station wagon and are holding the horn down, driving around a pharmacy, leading the zombies in this giant wave
to the pharmacy.
To the pharmacy.
No,
because
it's working. It's working. Me.
Yes, the zombies
you have
are
to drive
attracted.
away from the pharmacy. No, I got them. They're coming to me. Yes, they are. They are in fact coming to you.
Yeah, and that's what was great is you end up with these weird, wacky adventures. The last time we played Zomboid, we built a giant fort out of wood, and then there was, quote, an accident that burned it down. And I said, what accident was that? And it was, well, we decided to have a fight with Molotov cocktails.
So for those of you who play Project Zomboid, the preferred methodology for an honor roll duel is not to utilize a Molotov cocktail inside, because when it gets to the ammo, fun ensues.
Yeah, so the base blew up. And
I'm just going to go ahead and raise my hand and say that's probably my bad a little bit.
It was doomed to failure from the start.
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean,
someone gave me a Molotov, so I was set up for failure. It's not my fault.
And that's another thing about the Legion is like we say that everything we do is doomed to failure, and we indulge in that. We love that.
Yeah, it's the whole idea of Project Zomboid is this is the story of how you die.
Yeah. And
in the idea of like RimWorld, when I play RimWorld, 9 times out of 10 something horrible is going to happen. Because like Stagger was telling me about a RimWorld game he played where he said the game being what it is just rolls on random charts. And it goes, you have 30 boom rats. Join your base. And he's like...
And they are, flips pages, plagued.
Well, no, what happened was they all joined his base, and they all went into his base and drank because it's Stagger. There was a giant pile of booze, and they drank it all. And they got cirrhosis of the liver, and then just started exploding in the base, and then burned the whole thing down and turned it into a furnace.
It's amazing.
It was great.
That's pretty
incredible.
incredible.
Yeah, like you get a lot of communities where they're like, we're going to be the best, we're going to work together and be really
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
And then you
us.
get a lot of communities where they're like, we're going to be the worst, we're going to be funny. But no, the Legion is somewhere different. They're somewhere in between. Like we know this endeavor is going to be doomed, but we're going to have the most fun we can doing it.
I think we have a lot of what Tex has referred to as catastrophic success.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
it's
like when we all played Planetside. We were like, hey, we got enough guys to make a company of men. And so we fan out. And and we fan out. And it basically becomes that scene in Predator where something moves in the bushes and everyone unloads on it.
8 straight minutes of gunfire. And then a company of people like, I'm out of ammo. Did anyone bring ammo? And all of us are like, no, I'm an assault class. We're like,
we forgot the ammo. We destroyed all of our tanks. We landed VTOLs on us.
We had no idea how to deal with the airspace stuff.
No, well, Art did, because Art said, Mr. Tex,
plane.
there is a plane. It is in the sky. And I was like, Art, where is the fucking plane? It's in the sky. And I'm like,
where
fuck
in
you,
the
Art.
sky?
Yeah, Art, get a missile and shoot it. I can't, I'm dead. And I'm like, Fuck you, Art.
I was gonna say, like, I've been a part of groups that have stuck together to play games like World of Warcraft, and the second that somebody leaves, everybody kind of fucking disbands, or things just kind of fall apart because it's like, well, our ace group isn't together.
Yeah, or drama, or
God forbid you say no to someone in one of those things.
The worst part
so
was
greedy.
if I said anything about it, it was like. It's like, no, man, we're totally casual. We're totally casual. This is casual hardcore.
yeah, yeah.
Which I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
It's totally casual. Here's your raid schedule. You're gonna need to get in 40 hours a week.
You'll get the drop 4 times from now if it's for your class.
Yeah, it's they said casual hardcore, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. How do you have
Those things are mutually exclusive.
It's Christian black metal.
But yeah, and they disbanded after a while, and they come back, they disband, and there's a lot of other groups that do that. But yeah, ever since I joined the Legion, I have been awakened to madness, and also how well everyone just kind of sticks together, and
we stick out for each other.
We prop each other up really well.
Because someone has a bad fucking day, and we help. Someone has a death in the family, we help. Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things where everyone, we've helped people from homelessness, we've helped people find jobs, we've helped people through depression, because we just pick each other the fuck up. Now,
we are not Social Security, though.
No,
we all the Legionnaires who are all like, "Hey, in these coronavirus times, can we like help each other?" I'm like,
God,
"Yeah."
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. I've been there and I've done that. Please
just because we have in the past.
We have. We've done. Well, we're not God.
Yeah.
We
and none of us make enough money to help everyone in the Legion if they go through a bad time.
That goes without saying. But we're gonna try, and that's who we are.
And for members who've been around, active, and we care about, who brought great memories, I'm all for helping them. But if inactive McFuckface comes in out of nowhere and goes, "Hey guys, the virus knocked out my position," I guess my lone self in my family's house is gonna have to eat whatever my mom cooks. I don't give a shit about you.
I grew up eating whole boxes of Mom is Tired growing up because my mom was a school teacher. Mm-hmm. I've grown up poor, and a lot of people right now are having.
Helper.
Well, a lot of people right now are having to do that for the first time in their lives. I got through college working like 80, 90 hours a week and going to college at the same time, and it's gonna be hard. But if you fucking buckle down, you can make it. Yeah. Now, Mike just gave me a signal that it is where we need to wrap up. So I'm going to give, because this is our first podcast and we have no idea what the fuck.
We just want to kind of limit ourselves so that we're not like going on for like 3 hours. And I know people would listen to that, but that's
this is
very entertaining.
this is a test. This is podcast number 1. So if you want to know how to contact us,
I flew for 9 miles for this.
So what you have to do if you want to contact us is you have to make a smoke signal powered by farts. So you got to be really limber, have a lighter and a blanket.
So okay, if you do want to actually contact us, the Black Pants Legion email is theblackpantslegion@gmail.com. If you have any input, advice, or you want to tell me I'm full of shit, that is
you're full of shit.
Thank you. I know this.
God, I can't wait until you get all the hate mail from the Spielberg comment.
I'm gonna read it all.
The fucking Michael Bay.
Michael Bay himself writes, "How dare you?"
I said he was the underrated one.
Yeah, but he's going to yell at me. He's like, "Those explosions are artwork. Do you hate the 4th of July?"
He'll just say, "Sick podcast, bro."
Exactly. Yeah. How does it feel to be poor?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, check out this explosion gif.
Yeah, got me on that one.
Yeah, so
there's going to be an extra dead bear in the next Tim Burton movie.
Wow.
So here's the thing. If you want to contact me there's a BPL Patreon, but don't worry about that because you don't need to give me money. And I'm going to ask one last question for a round, and then we can end this up.
Sure.
One of my long-term dreams, if ever I won the lottery or made fuck-off money or got hit by like a mail truck and won $50 million in a lawsuit, one of the things I've always wanted to do is buy an old UHF station in the Midwest somewhere, and just put up 24-hour broadcasting, put it on the internet, and let the Legionnaires program that TV station and let them make channels and make content. So if you were given an hour block of time out of a 24-hour cycle to do whatever you wanted as entertainment, whether people watched or not, what would your show be? Mr. Nick.
Do I have to star in it? Thank you. Please take that away from me.
Yes, you have to star in it.
Ooh, man, I have to star in it. What would I do? I don't even know, because I was gonna say paint by numbers with Mr. Tex.
I can't see color.
That's why it's awesome.
The point.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
It's
an hour of
Blue
gray.
text blue.
Text, no,
blue.
I'm just pointing at different things.
That's gray. That's gray.
Yeah.
It's like it's on a tinny overhead speaker.
Today we're going to be painting a picture of Hurricane Michael, which is gray. Join us next week for the Battleship Bismarck, which is also gray.
All right. So what would your show be?
I think my show would be I would want to do something airplane related, but probably not very informative. Like
So what if
I would talk about like Red Bull Air Race news, because no one follows that, but I find it entertaining. And people like Kirby Chambliss,
Plane
who's,
talk.
Plane talk, and
plain talk?
Or
Plane talk. It's just plain talk.
yeah, or
with Mr. Nick.
you do unsolved mysteries, but about planes.
That could be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I actually just saw a thing a couple days ago on YouTube, and it was talking about coconut crabs, and they were like, one of the reasons they think they never found Amelia Earhart is that coconut crabs probably tore her body apart and ate it. And I was like, neat. Also morbid, but neat.
What's that Jonathan Frakes show where he's like,
where he's
or-
asked questions.
Truth or Fiction, I think is what's
Yeah,
called.
and if you turn it down to 25% speed, it sounds like he's really drunk.
I would.
It's uncanny. It's
Oh
great.
no! I know what I would do. I know. I would do Ask a Pilot.
Oh,
And it would-
that would be cool.
No, I'll do you one better. I'll put my dad on there.
That would be great.
Your dad.
We're gonna
sounds
have to
like,
delve into that in another podcast. Why that's
Nick's,
funny, but
Nick's dad is Foghorn Leghorn, certified commercial aviation expert.
Yeah.
And so now, son, let me tell you
'cause
when
I
you're
can-
flying a pattern. Now,
Yeah.
son.
So, Mr. Nick, I'd like to know when you're landing in a stiff crosswind, what do you do to make sure that you don't float too long when you get into ground effect? Thank you.
And my dad will sit there and he'll take his glasses off and blink like 7 or 8 times and like settle in his chair and be like, now, landing in a crosswind is like making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then and he will make the statement, which in no way relates to the metaphor he's described, but he'll be like, so when you're coming in and your flaps are down, okay, that's your jelly. Okay, you want to spread that on real thick. And then he'll be like, and then when if you fuck it up and you flare too hard, it's now you dropped it on the floor. Now you got to mess everywhere and nobody likes that. Okay, so you got to be really careful with the yolk and don't break an egg. It's just like, what, eggs aren't in peanut butter.
And here we go. Final approach.
That's great.
All right, Diggs TV show. You have an hour.
From the BPL or anything?
Just anything you would want it if you had the production.
The BPL has a 24-hour news station. You have an hour
BPL
block.
branded.
You
It
can
would probably be just me talking to people who have been inactive and hearing all of the excuses, and then me cutting it down as logical. I'm like, so you had school for 3 days
So
a
what
week
you're-
and you couldn't say, hey.
So what you're saying is you want to be dressed as Q from that Next Generation
Yes.
episode where he's on the scissor lift and he's like, court is now in session.
Yeah, but then there's a big screen of just Discord or voice and chat logs where I'm just saying, all right, this is where it gets confusing. Because over here he said that his parents were sick, but then he had 2 shifts and school, and he had no one to take care of him. And it's like trying to find out where the truth is and all the bullshit saying, oh no, I'm totally active. I sent a message last month.
So basically, what I'm saying, what I'm hearing is you want to do the version of something Tex and I talked about, where it was going to be
Judge Diggs.
Well, it was going to be me, and it was going to be Ask an NCO.
Yeah,
and I was just going to fuss at people, but this is going to be like, you want to be like a military NCO, like somebody's like, yeah, no, I'm totally active, and you're like, wow, God, that's really good that you told me that, because when I look at these logs, you're not in any of the channels, so that's crazy. I guess I'm just full of shit, aren't I? I'm just a fucking idiot.
All right, so Judge Diggs, High Inquisitor, Kobold, you have an hour for a show.
So, what I think I would do is I'd probably go with what's kind of becoming a slogan for me. I think is shit post your way to success. I would do
the art of shit posting.
Yes. Think Bob Ross, but I'm either teaching people how to do things or learning to do things and inviting people to come along with me. And it's all related to retarded memes and stuff. You know, image macros, music, drawing stuff. You know, anything creative that I can think of.
From the moment people mentioned possums to the moment we had possum eating banana gifs in the Legion in HD was about 7 minutes.
Yeah, you're really quick at picking up and learning a lot of shit that's awesome fast. And you're like, when did you do that? And then you got like, Rats the birthday rats. And it was just like,
I took that song and I like found the backing track he had used to make it, and I like spliced it together so I had I could cut pieces out and I replaced it. And I was like, so it's a thing, it's a meme.
Yeah,
you're just incredible at
shit posting.
Like getting a new talent or skill to make something incredible with low effort. I mean, maybe there's a lot of effort in it, but you figure out a way to make it so you even showed Tom. You're like, hey, Tom.
Looking like you're putting in no effort.
Like you were able to show Tom in like a minute how to make for your birthday. Yeah. Didn't Tom make Rats Cobalt?
Yeah.
Cobalt.
That's insane.
He did an awesome job.
I'd be all about that.
That's awesome. All right. Mike, you're going to end us out. What would your hour block be?
And this is something I've always wanted to do. I'd love to interview and do like a biopic on old game studios.
Oh,
hell yeah.
And I would actually interview with the people, so it'd be like, Sierra Entertainment was founded in 1979 by Ken and Roberta Williams, and go through their whole like thing, and then I interview who's alive. I don't even know anymore.
Well, back in my day, we had to put every pixel in with glue.
Well, like even just that studio, they would hire people who have never made video games before, and then they'd make fucking King's Quest.
It'd be really fun to track down like the people who had almost nothing involved in it, like the weird random people that you never hear about. Like,
and I would love to have an hour where it's just like, here's a biopic on Sierra Entertainment, or here's a biopic on EA Games, like where it started, what games they started out with, and where they're at now. I doubt I can get interviews with anybody from the new shit, but the old shit, I'm sure somebody will bring out the skeletons, man.
That would, because I saw a documentary on Atari, and they were like insane, because it was like, hey, figure out how to do this.
Yeah, I would love to, and I would love to meet the people who have made some of these games and see what their insights were in the development, and kind of like give people an idea of like what development in a game industry back then was like, and then maybe even show some stuff that's happening nowadays. But it's really hard to do that because stuff nowadays is a lot harder to kind of keep under wraps. Back then it was like, they didn't have, I feel like they didn't have nearly as much security about their shit, the shit that was being said.
All right, now that everyone threw actual shit, I thought about it for a bit. In all honesty, if I had my own show, it would be probably about all the steps and how different types of additive manufacturing worked, because I just find it so fucking interesting what I'm doing at my job, and just the technology that comes behind, like not only just regular 3D printers, but metal printers and all like the steps and requirements and safety measures and all the paperwork. Just not really the paperwork, but just inform the public on why we don't have 3D printed everything. And because how much put into it, how much time and effort and authority and just paperwork that's all behind just saying this is a proven process.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that's like, a really niche idea and stuff like that, but it's something you're passionate about, and that's going to bleed through and it's going to make it amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's the idea. That's why I picked that, because I'd be passionate about that.
If you do something devoid of passion, people will know.
Yeah.
Because like if you want to see devoid of passion, there's a beautiful YouTube video called Weber Cooks.
And there's even like moderate passion versus really strong passion. You can tell.
Well, there's scary passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, thank you for listening to BPL Test Podcast number 1. Remember to listen to this with your ear holes and to return any unused portion of this podcast for 0 refund. Don't do that.
Your time is non-referable.
It is ours now. And
Yes.
you've wasted it.
Delicious.
Also,
I'm very sorry.
If you're listening while driving down the road, please drive safe. I know a lot of people out there are driving on the road right now listening to a podcast. So if you're out there on the highways and byways, keep your hands on the fucking wheel, you weird truckers. Osborne, I'm talking about you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Black Pants Legion podcast. This is episode 2. We've made it to 2.
Well, folks, that was an entire episode, about an hour 40-ish minutes or so. Let's check. Yeah, and I'm going to say we're going to take a little break here. I need to stand up, relieve myself of a few things. Take a bath, hit the bathroom, and be back in about 5-ish minutes. I've been quiet because I very much enjoy these podcasts, but as you can see, I'm just testing out hab configurations, how they look and all, because what I'm building right now is the Stormcrow, my treasure ship. And damn, that would be kind of nice going through there. Oh, yeah, I could use that. But it only goes that way. But anyways, y'all, be back in about 5-ish minutes. So Okay, folks, I'm back. And let's continue, shall we? And of course, go to episode 2.
Whole episodes, which shows we're being a hack. We, again, are acknowledging fully that we stole this idea from Diggs, who came up with the idea for a BPL podcast, and he's the only member of the BPL who knows what podcasts are and how they work. So we totally stole the idea from him, which he's fine with, as long as we told him and tell you that we stole it from him. Also, this podcast is not brought to you by Audible, Skillshare, or anything else, because we're not sellouts. This podcast, like everything else the BPL does, is brought to you by the BPL and its Patreon. So if you think this garbage is worth supporting, it is BPL Tax on Patreon. But if you don't want to give me any fucking money, that's just fine. We'll get by. So my co-host tonight is Director Crow, or Crowand of the Courtesy Flush. Good day, sir.
Hello.
Crowand of the Courtesy Flush, aside from running a very fine and wholesome stream, is also the current editor of Tex Talks Battletech, the second editor of Tex Talks Battletech, the first being Manus Guardian, who could not join us tonight, but he may join us in a future episode. And so this episode of the podcast is going to be a bit about Battletech, a bit about Star Trek, and a bit about anything else we can think about in as much time as we can dedicate to it. So, my co-host, do you have anything to say before we get started on this shit list of questions?
No, not at all. Other than just that in terms of Battletech, I am actually very much a newbie. And I have learned most of what I know through editing these videos. So I apologize if you're like, how could he not know this thing? I'm just going to shrug and say, because I don't.
That's a great answer, because people are going to be, hey, Mike, did you know that technically the House of Amaris? And you're like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
You just say that, yeah, that's cool. That's great.
I'm like, can I put AC-20 like dual AC-20s on my Urban Mech? And everyone's like, no. But I'm like, that's not true.
It sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. So I guess we need to start about this whole Battletech business. A lot of people have asked for a behind the scenes of a Tex Talks Battletech and how they're made. And we've tried to put that information out there. We've tried to put it on the intermission. We've tried to talk about it in community posts, but unfortunately people's attention spans are either waning or they don't actually watch the content all the way through. So I guess we could discuss that here, which I think would be a little bit more entertaining, I guess.
Yeah.
But the thing is that people don't realize how this all started. I had some friends that said Warhammer 40k lore is the best lore, and I thought 40k lore used to be great under the Andy Chambers era, where it was really grim dark, and the company did a lot to try to interact in a very positive way with the fan base. So they would have tournaments and battles, and that would determine the shape of the universe. And there was a lot of great communication both ways. And the universe was very implacable. And the cornerstones of, a grim, dark universe are that you can't change anything. You're not the hero. You're the everyman, and it's going to destroy you. And then in the Matt Ward era that followed that, it kind of just started to get really, really, really crap. And so I kind of fell off the wagon in 40K back in around 05. And Battletech had always been my first love. And so many years went by. I continued to play my Battletech games and what have you here and there. And a friend of mine said, 40K lore is so fucking great. And I said, what? Pauldron McLarge Huge in his giant sword and his very, very heteronormative friends, I'm sure.
I'm corporate Kyle of the Imperium.
Exactly. And then driving up in their giant metal box to go fight some orcs. That's not deep lore. That's Saturday morning cartoon shit, And
Fair enough, yeah.
and so I was like, no, BattleTech is fucking Game of Thrones before there was Game of Thrones. It's all this political intrigue and stuff. And they're like, oh, isn't that terrible children's show? And I'm like, no. And I fucking lost. Yeah,
it's hilariously funny though.
Well, then, yeah, that show is also a very good illustration of how to retcon. It's not like 40K where you're like, no one's alive to remember the lore. Let's just rewrite it to sell more models. Like BattleTech knows people read the shit and love it. So they were like, that is canon, kind of. It's an in-universe broadcast from the Tharkat Broadcasting Company, and it's just straight up propaganda.
That's brilliant. I like that every time I pull something out from one of those episodes, I always find like a gem, and I have to be like, ooh, which one can I use?
Yeah.
Because they're always funny to me. No matter what I do, it always seems like something out of context from there is always going to be funny.
Oh, it's fucking fantastic because everything you've pulled for it in the episodes, especially the last one where you just added that, oh, fuck, at the end. That was so good.
The last episode at the time of this recording being the Exodus to Elementals Part 1 that we finished. And we're currently working on Part 2 as a recording.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this after we've completed it, hopefully we didn't disappoint.
Yeah, but if you did, you can hear us working through the gears on it and say that's the point where they went wrong.
Yeah. By the way, Intex told me a really good story, and I'd love to hear it on the for everyone else to hear it. I should say
redacted. Go ahead.
He told me this really funny story about how, as a kid, you found out about BattleTech.
Oh yeah,
like that guy who told you about it.
Well,
at the mall or whatever.
It was at a local game store, and he like turned around and I was like, "What is this, fucking Stompy Robots?" And he's like, "No, it's fucking BattleTech. Let me tell you, son. Let me fucking tell you." I mean, the guy was like furious that I didn't know about it.
The way you said it, he was like, "You never heard of BattleTech before?"
Yeah, well, he was really dismissive, but he was also furious, like that my education had not brought me to the same amount of realization that he had known.
Is that your first ever experience with like an actually grognard?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and he was one of the better grognards. Like, I couldn't smell him from 20 feet away, which was, great. Like, he wasn't a sweatpants grognard, but he was like, I run my own weird radio repair shop grognard. You know what I mean? So it was like one of those tier grognards was like, let me tell you about shit,
Yeah.
Like, if you went to his house, you would hear the constant running of like dot matrix printers and have like 30 monitors hooked up. Basically, the guy looked like what you would imagine a hacker from a 90s movies look like, where it was kind of
Hacker Man from the 90s told you about BattleTech, and you were like, oh boy. In your like little excited young man voice.
Well, it was
which back then was probably still, oh boy.
Yeah, well, no. But it was that guy and another guy. It was two guys that were really informative at a local game store. And one of them was like a big cleaner cut. He was like upper middle class and obviously could afford to buy shit because BattleTech minis back then were fucking expensive. But it was a niche hobby, but they were very, very welcoming. And that's why BattleTech was always my first love. Because like when you try to get into 40K, I've found that you'll be like the most 40K tables. If you go to them and you're like, oh, cool, what are you playing? They're like, mind your own fucking business. Or it's 40K, get the fuck out. Or, well, you're a casual. I've not yet found that community to be very welcoming because they're very factionalized and they're like, if you look at like a Space Marine, you're like, oh, that's cool. It's like, oh, you would like that, faggot. I mean, it's just like they're very in their trenches. In BattleTech, they'll welcome you in and let you choose a faction and tell you all about it. And then they will welcome you to like the political infighting. So you'll be like, oh, cool. Like, I like this Confucian communist state that's the Capellans or something, and people will tell you about their history and their famous people and the Capellan marches and all the succession wars and the Isle of Skye and all this other stuff, and then they'll go, oh yeah, you guys are fucking snakes and no one can trust you, but it's friendly. It's like really friendly. And I've found that in BattleTech, the one thing that's really pervasive is there's all of this like really friendly ribbing back and forth between the factions. So, be like, oh yeah, even among clanners, they'll be like, well, at least we took our objectives on Tukiyad, unlike some people. And the other group just does that Wojak face.
Yeah.
Oh man. But no, this whole BattleTech business started off more or less as, I had a friend of mine who introduced me to the game, and I improperly taught me how to play. God, can I even fucking talk? Been working a lot, but taught me how to play. And then years later, we were talking about lore, and I was like, BattleTech is a 7-layer bean dip, except the layers are made out of rust, asphalt, and nuclear fallout. And, 40K lore is just shit copy pasted out of edgy scrapbooks written by 17-year-olds, except for the glorious works of Andy Chambers, which I will always bow down to. And that's just my, I continue to hammer on this, but it's kind of like the normie tier 40K versus the Chad BattleTech meme, where there's actual substance and narrative. And then in 40K, it's, like Big McLarge Huge or Slab Shaw McBrondo and his giant fucking sword, who's also named like Cal Drago or something, who like carves his name into like demons' hearts because he's so edgy. And you're just
well, and I was going to say, like, in terms of BattleTech, though, it has actually had a lot of, I think it had Japanese origins originally.
Yeah.
And
well, yes and no. That's a really complex assertion because it does come from battle droids, and that has a lot of licensed and unlicensed stuff taken, because BattleTech is very much the Western spin on that Japanese genre of mecha. But instead of like it being angsty 14-year-old kids like fighting a super war with dancing robots, it's like horrible war crimes mercenaries driving killdozers at each other.
Yeah, it mimics a lot of old war from its past, but with, the future of giant stompy mech robots. They're more like tanks and less like, some sort of weird superhero cartoon show, which is what I think drawed a lot of people, because it came out at around a time when a lot of tabletop was fairly popular amongst nerd culture.
Oh yeah, and it was back in those early days of like the satanic panic shit, where you'd be playing second edition, and there was that like, what was that Tom Hanks movie where like he thought he was a wizard or a cleric, and like he played D&D and lost his fucking mind. And I mean, the satanic panic was real. They were telling parents, if your kids go play like D&D games in the basement, they're gonna grow up like full on Hail Satan and put like bitch and wizard art on the side of a panel fan and go be a roadie or something.
Well, and they weren't wrong, because that's exactly what I did. No,
well, I mean, a man's got to have his aspirations, but I mean, the culture was still very popular, but it was still kind of niche and underground. And that generation of nerds were really bullied for being nerds. It's not like today where you see like people on Instagram or social media going like, oh yeah, I'm a nerd. I'm cool. I like the D&D. Here's a picture of my pretty dice. And it's like, you never played D&D unless you sat around in like sweaty clothes in a basement, eating a giant tray of Totino's pizza rolls as you trying to figure out how to get your DM to fudge some dice so your tiefling warlock doesn't biff it. I mean, that's D&D, where you're sitting there calling each other cocksuckers over dice rolls.
Yeah, and also like that's not to say that people who play D&D now have to be like that.
Oh no, of course not. It's
you play the game however the hell you want to.
Of course. I'm just regaling people with, well, back in my day, it was a crude thing done by grognards.
Well, it's because we both grew up like with the whole nerd label being like this negative connotation, and we got fucked up over it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I remember, catching shit when I was a kid. They were like, oh, you're going to go play some dice in your math game? And I was like, yeah, I'm off to go enjoy my weekend. What are you going to do? And they're like, we're going to go throw a pigskin around and grab each other.
Yeah. And one thing I do have to say though is like by doing all the editing that I have done with BattleTech, I think this is the first time I've ever actually completed feature length like videos in terms of like, well, I've done feature length stuff before, but nothing to this scale, like in terms of putting all the pieces together. Usually people just give me footage and they're like, no, you make it. And I'm like, okay. And it's not like it's really that much different, but I think there's more collaboration involved. And this feels like, even though there's a lot of different moving pieces, it feels like I'm actually part of a real working production crew, because everyone has that group where it's like, you got the guy, and it's like you get the class who's like, we're going to put you in this group and you guys are going to do this one project. And everyone's just like, oh boy, yeah, I'm going to do it first day. Like week 2, one guy is literally working the whole fucking thing. And one other person is constantly like, hey, is it done yet?
Yeah.
And at the very end, everyone swoops in to act like they completed the whole thing together. And that is a very common production issue that I faced throughout working on stuff. And now that I've been working in BattleTech and seeing how awesome the community is, and working with Tex, it's like really kind of brought editing back for me, because I was on the brink of fucking quitting right before I met Tex. I was like, this is just not fun for me anymore. And he was just like, hey, you want to make this video with me? And he said it just like that. I'm like,
yeah,
oh man,
no, that's exactly what
buddy.
I sound
yeah,
like.
Please don't hurt me.
Yeah, I was like, I have an unhealthy obsession with stompy robots, and I need someone to feed me that sweet mother of God into my arm to help me out.
Right. It was like right after Mad as Guardian completed the Mad Cat episode that you had mentioned us. And you're like, yeah, it's a pretty big epic thing that I put together. Not a big deal, whatever. Like, no. I looked at it and I'm like, holy shit, this is fucking really involved and awesome. And Matt as Guardian is a fantastic editor. And I know he doesn't agree with it because he always tries to play it off, but holy shit, his ability to put together just all of that art in a way that's so pleasing. It to me as an editor, I want to be able to do that just naturally, and I have to work really hard just to be that good. He
has an amazing way. He has an amazing fucking way with editing, and I told him he needs to do it more, but he also says, I have a fucking day job. Why are you such a weirdo about robots? And he's really fun. He's a really fun guy, and he's one of the founding members of the BPL, and he's been like following me since I had like 50 people or something. And so he kind of lurks more nowadays because he works a lot, but his contributions, like he was a major push for me to do this shit. And
well, he was the one who told you to do this in the first place, wasn't he?
Well, he was the push. He was the push to do it. I was in the middle of a bunch of, because I can be an asshole. I know I can be an asshole. And
we all can.
Well, yeah, but see, the thing is I have the asshole card, and that's called autism. And I absolutely get on my perch and start flinging shit at people when it comes down to like the fandoms. And I found my autistic friends do the same thing. Like they love Babylon 5 or they love Star Trek, and they love that shit so much. So when people talk shit about it, they're like, listen here, you fuck, and they just start throwing shit. And so, I mean, you have to understand, like my earlier shitting on 40K, I love Andy Chambers' era of 40K. I hate what they've fucking done to it. Dread Knight at all. I mean, all of that shit is just like, oh my God, what have you done? You've massacred my beautiful boy. So I used to be huge into 40K. And then with 40K going down the dumps, I decided to like fall back on my old love, and stuff like Sarna.net and all that is still running well because the BattleTech community is just amazing. They're fucking amazing. And it's so goddamn good to see them still running hard and still loving what they love, because they put more love into this setting than anything else. And that's the only reason BattleTech is still around. The only reason BattleTech is still around, despite clicky tech and all of the other terrible iterations of the game, which have just been money grabs and terrible IP disputes and lack of updates for shit and video games being built half-assed, if at all. For every bad video game, you will see 2 or 3 fan projects pop up to really help people enjoy BattleTech. And right now, there's a really great BattleTech renaissance happening, despite the companies, not because of the companies, because the community is that fucking strong. And that's why I love BattleTech. And I know some of the 40K people are going to give me shit over what I said earlier, but I want them to understand, as much as you love 40K, I love BattleTech, and that we both love the same things for the same reasons because of what it means to us personally. I think we can agree to disagree, you know. Because I know I'm going to get some like hate mail about this, but well, fuck it. It's a podcast. What are they going to say? They'll be like,
well, I mean,
the ear hole sounds.
Well, look, you can just like explain yourself to them when the occasion arises, but it's I think most of us can really agree that it's like with BattleTech in particular, the one foundation that has held this whole thing together has been its fans, even from the beginning.
Oh yeah.
And that's true for a lot of tabletop games, but from what I've noticed as an outsider to this whole thing is just like how incredibly difficult and niche it is to locate most of the shit.
Yes.
And then how passionate the people are who are into it. It is absolutely insane. Like, Sarna is definitely the bedrock for this entire thing.
I agree. I think that's our nexus for the community, is that like Sarna has all these resources, but they also have amazing news updates. And
I've relied on Sarna myself, even when you have written most of this stuff. I still go by, like, even though Tex knows this lore in and out, I still, like, if I feel like there's, like, I'm reading something that I feel is, like, off, or I want to read a little more into it, sometimes I will find that there is an inconsistency because on Sarna they have kept it all together and they've put it all together.
Yeah, they've done an amazing fucking job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So the first episode we worked on together was the catapult.
Yeah.
And I remember you asked me to work on this well, at first it was like, are you sure you want to do something like this? And of course, me being like not able to say no to projects, at least at the time, I'm much better at it now. You're just like, you sure you want to do this? It's kind of a thing. And I'm like, yeah, I can do this. And I want to do all this extra stuff. And so you literally, at the time, and it's still kind of true today, Tex would just write this giant script out, and he'd be like, here's what I want in the video, and this is the whole script, and I've already recorded all this stuff, and I'd get it. And I'm like, okay. And then he would be like, all right, so here's a bunch of ideas I had for the video in this script that I think would be funny little gags and things like that. And he's like, but you don't have to do them all. And I would just do them all. Because you were like, you're a psychopath. I thought those were just suggestions. I didn't mean to do every one of them.
Well, right. And the thing is like when I write my script from my perspective. Like, here's all my research stuff. Here's all my, month or two of research and work. And then the script also acts like a storyboard.
Yeah.
And so it'll have like little notes here and there in the script. And at first it was just me sending you like Word files, but now we've gotten into using Google Docs and stuff like that. So we can move stuff around and add other stuff because it's very collaborative. It's not just me saying, okay, here it is. I'll see you in a month. Cause holy shit. But, it's one of those things where I dump that off. And then we start working through it. And I go, okay, here's my voice lines for these areas. And then we'll get to effect shots. And sometimes I'll, like George Lucas said, and write, they fight.
Yeah.
Just be like, they fight with their laser swords. And, we'll get to the George Lucas thing in a minute. Cause
that's a bit of insanity. Yeah. So we did the catapult episode and he sent me this giant script of all this stuff he wanted to edit. And I was so excited to actually have the energy to edit once more. The thing that actually really got me like excited for making movies and stuff was just the collaborative spirit that I had with my friends. But as everyone moves on in their lives, I was kind of like, I want to do all this.
You were the last man standing of that group of people that still wanted to do it and had the drive to do it. And
that's nothing against them. It was just like, that's how life works. People move on and they have things they want to do.
It's like all your friends moving away to go to college, and you're the guy that got the job in town, and you're like, hey, we'll still friends, right? And they're like, yeah, sure. And they just peel off into the sunset.
Yeah. So he gives me this thing for the catapult, and I was using a lot of what Matt Asgardian set down as a reference, because I'm somebody who likes a consistency of theme, and I wanted to try to maintain as much of that from his editing style and the fonts and everything that he used into the next one. And I remember when we were doing the catapult, you were like, we're just throwing ideas in there left and right. And if you watch that episode, you'll see like there's like a JRPG battle system in there.
Yeah, it was just like when you make stew and you've got a lot of extra shit left over in the cabinets and you just start going like, do olives go in stew?
Yeah.
It's like today they do.
Yeah, and I remember when I was like, do the JRPG thing, and then you just like somewhere in between, you're like, you know what, I kind of don't like this idea anymore, and then I made it anyway, and you're like, fuck.
Well, it wasn't that I don't like it. It was just it felt like, when you go into a restaurant and they're like, tell us if it's your birthday, Yeah. And sometimes if you go to a nice restaurant and it's your birthday, they're like, hey, here's a slice of pie and a cup of coffee on us. Thank you for living another year. And you're like, thank you. Yeah. And it's just very polite. And then you go to other restaurants and somebody comes out with a team of 50 waiters and there's like a giant cake and it has like 800 sparklers in it, and they all clap and syncopation and sing the corporate anthem or whatever as they watch you eat the cake, and you go, this is too much. That's about where we were with it. And I think it was because my approach to doing anything is find out what kills you and then back off a little bit. It just, we went full fucking stupid, full speed ahead, full memes ahead. And some people like got really mad over it, and some people really liked it. It was very divisive as an episode.
Yeah, it was one of those episodes that I feel like it depends on who you talk to. Some people are either like Matt, or some people are literally just like, that's my favorite episode out of all of them.
Well, and that's the thing, is that like some people like the short ones, some people like the feature length ones. And with that Catapult episode, there was one really good piece of feedback where this guy who runs a channel, I think it's regular guy training or something. He's a firearms instructor. Like his channel, he's a decent sized YouTube channel. He's a firearms instructor, and he wrote this thing like, okay, you went over the top on this and that. You need to learn from these lessons of the Mad Cat video. And then we did the Battle of Tukiyat after that, and he was like, that's fucking phenomenal, like hoorah, So it's hilarious that BattleTech has fans all over. I think it was a regular guy training. I'll have to look that guy up, but he's one of our fans, and we have this,
and we appreciate that kind of feedback, honestly.
Well,
because it's the only way we can get better. And
the feedback that's well thought out, the feedback that's not just like lol gay, or the 8-page thing of like why Gundam is better with no punctuation. Like I can't.
We've got that a couple of times.
Yeah. And it's like, I really appreciate the good feedback where someone's like, I'm not really into longer content, but the quality was nice. That I can understand. Like someone says, I don't have 2 hours to sit down and watch a fucking Ken Burns talks BattleTech. And I get that. And then we have people who like make unhelpful commentary, and it's not because they're stupid. It's because it's not because they're being mean. It's because they don't understand like production. So, time and time again, people are like, wouldn't it be better to make like 10-minute videos than one 100-minute video? And it's like, no, because when you make all these individual small videos, the production time is much longer to start production, do it all, stop production, start production, do it all, stop production, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, you know, I think they just expect like it be easier braking system and you're able to like take more time off. But if you're doing 10-minute increment videos constantly, you're doing the same work. It just takes longer.
Yeah.
It's better to do it all in one sitting.
Well, yeah.
And then have it all at your disposal. And then if you really want to do 10-minute increments, then you can just cut the big giant thing you made into that. But at that point, you might as well just release the whole thing, which is what we do.
Well, right. Because it's like if you took Lord of the Rings, which was like, what, 3 years, they shot them all back to back to back.
Yeah.
If they shot those individually, they would have taken them 10 years to make that fucking thing. And it's just one of those things of production cycle. And, you know, we appreciate hearing that sort of stuff because it is thoughtful. And they're very right when they say, you know, the algorithm hates when you make 12-hour videos. And I'm like, I once made an 8-hour shift to Space Station 13. I don't give a fuck, you know.
Yeah, and that's kind of the mantra of the channel. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the YouTube algorithm is unreliable. You can't really, and that's not what we focus on. Even on my own shit, I don't focus on that.
Well, right.
I think that's part of the reason why we click so well.
Well, yeah, we gel well because we realize that if you change the trending clickbaity shit and you change the meta strategy or what have you, you're gonna end up warping so much to change this popularity contest that you're not gonna be good at what you do. You'll be popular. But Budweiser is also popular and it's terrible. So it's don't be Budweiser.
We're really happy with the people we get to interact with. Even if it's like, you know, the same 10 people, like, we're just happy to interact with those people because they appreciate what we're doing. And that feels good.
A way to put that in perspective is like my grandfather I talked with a lot. And he was a font of a lot of wisdom. And when he was like dying, I visited him a lot in the home, and we used to face cam when I couldn't get there. I'd face chat with him back and forth, and we'd talk a lot. And he told me a lot of stories about entertainment. Because the very end, like he's one of my only family members I ever showed my YouTube stuff ever. Because he was somebody who just didn't judge. He was one of the few people who didn't judge. And when I showed him some, like, you know, like blowing up a station with farts and things like that, he laughed and he goes, I don't know what the fuck this is, but I think it's hilarious. And, you know, that felt really good to me. But he gave me advice. He said that he can still remember radio shows from when he was a kid. And as a young man, he can still remember, or could still remember, all of these radio shows from back then. Because the people who ran those shows didn't run in national syndication. They didn't have huge scripts or anything. It was all they cared about was doing a good show for the 1,000 or 100 or whatever people that were listening. And he didn't give it, and they didn't, you know, try to be nationally recognized or make this much money or whatever. They had the time they had, and they did the best job they had for the people they cared about. And that kept them memorable. And he had listened to the radio every day of his life for goddamn near 70 years of listening to the radio. And he says, I can still remember those old guys. I can't remember anything from the past 20 years because it just all sounds the same. But back when people only cared about making shit that they thought was important and invested themselves in emotionally, that was better stuff. And the parting piece of advice he gave me is, he says, it is better to do a goddamn good show for 10 people who genuinely appreciate it than a boring ass show for 10 million people who will forget you the next day.
Yes. And that's a very good way to work in terms of production. At least for me, I feel happier doing it this way than trying to reach some gigantic audience of people who are mostly young and, you know, they're just going to move on to the next thing and it becomes unreliable. But in terms of BattleTech, like, we're doing a lot of really cool ass projects in it, not just the Tex Talks BattleTech, just like all the like little fun, commercially type stuff that we do is a lot of fun, and just interacting with all the people who know stuff.
Well, yeah, and I was going to get into that because, like, I met you through a friend, Sally, and I started watching your show, which is wholesome as shit. Those of you out there want to watch good stuff, the Courtesy Flush on YouTube and Twitch, but all their stuff is archived on YouTube. And I'm kind of plugging myself because I also routinely show up there and shit post, especially with the Star Trek stream, which we're going to talk about later.
And the thing that we do over there on the stream is it's just a hangout with our friends. It's not like
that's what struck me so strongly about it is I watch this because I hate a lot of streaming. And the reason I hate a lot of streaming is because people, will have like, I don't know, maybe it's my really frail skin in this regard, but people will say, I'm not going to watch a 2-hour video on blah, blah, blah. And I'll go, okay, well, what do you like to watch? Because I'm curious what makes people tick. And they go, oh, I like watching all these streamers. So you'll watch a guy for 6 hours pretend to interact with 12,000 people as it spins like a fucking gas meter on Christmas, just sitting there. And the guy goes, hey, chat, what do you think? And there's like 12,000 emotes of like dick butt. And they go, all right, chat, good idea. And I'm like, that's not interactive. That's crazy Fahrenheit 451 shit where it's just noise.
It looks like it's like a Black Mirror episode or something. It's really odd.
It scares the shit out of me. So when this person says the stream's really good, I say, okay, I'm going to check it out. So I hate most streams. And I watch the stream and I see guys hanging out on a couch, being genuine as shit, laughing and interacting with the chat. And the chat is like 2 people at that point. And I'm like, these people give a shit. And Mr. Tex's heart grew several times that day. it was just really exciting. And so
that was back when you were still doing Rant of the Week. And I remember you telling me not that long ago that one of the reasons you stopped doing that was because you were quite upset and angry, and those things you were trying to vent, but in the end, it just made you feel like an angry person. So
and well, I'm a person who tries to fix mental health, and I'm trying to be more on the have gratuity side of thing than be angry at the world. But I'm still very much at heart an angry, sad person. I've got a lot of deep emotional scars. I've got PTSD. I've got a lot of issues, and I'm trying to be better about that because I don't want to be a bitter old lonely fuck. And so I'm trying to be, have more gratitude and happiness in the world. And I'd rather be mad about stuff like video games and shit because that's funny and it's not important, rather than be mad about everyday life and end up as this Holden Caulfield character walking around calling everyone phony. And with the Rant of the Week, I felt like I was sitting in judgment of society, and I realized I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to fall into those habits. And I realized I had been, and I was just externalizing them, and people were like, yeah, fuck that guy. And I was like, wait, I'm waving a banner I don't want to wave. And so I stepped back from that, So
yeah, and you don't want to be like, and I know a lot of people don't know this. Tex is not actually that old. He's only 2 or 3 years older than I am.
Yeah,
I'm 33.
I have what's called I have what's called a lot of city miles.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I have a lot of gray hair, and I have a lot of worry lines, and I have a very high stress life. So it's just beat the shit out of me, and I'm trying to be more youthful and kind and hopeful. And so I find this stream and it makes me enjoy it. So I start tuning in. I start talking with Mike. Mike's an editor. And I said, well, fuck, man, let's do a thing together. Cause I make a lot of stuff and I'd like to make better stuff. And you were like, oh, I'll edit for free. And I was like, after a while, the Patreon started to increase when I started doing this stuff. And especially with BattleTech, oh my God, the Patreons increased. And I said, Mike, I can give you this much money. And you're like, no, I'll do it for free. And I was like, motherfucker, you're taking this fucking money. And
I refused. And then you sent me sausages.
Yeah. Well,
money.
You refused at first. And I wanted to do something of parody. So I first, wasn't it bacon at first? Or was it sausages?
Yeah, it was like, how many pounds? It was like 15 pounds or 20
15
pounds.
pounds of like artisanal bacon, like fresh killed, fresh cut, everything from just like maple bacon and apricot, wood smoked bacon and like pepper.
It was really good.
Yeah, and I just sent this because you were like, I'm not taking that money. And I was like, well, what if I send you like that much money worth of bacon? And you were like, I like bacon, so I sent you that much bacon. And then you were like, the whole house smells like bacon. And you made a whole bunch of French fries and stored bacon grease from like 20 pounds of bacon, of this artisanal bacon. You were like, this was a mistake, a delicious mistake. And then the next time I was like, okay, well, do you want more bacon? You're like, dude, I can't take any more bacon. My roommates think I'm crazy. This weird guy on the internet is sending me all this bacon. I was like, okay, bratwurst it is. And I sent all of this bratwurst from like second generation German artisanal bratwurst guy. And you're eating all this bratwurst and you're like, fuck, this is great. And I was like, okay, you ready to take the money now? And you're like, yeah, I'll take the money.
he beat it into submission. But yeah, no, and it's good. Because I constantly remind him that even if there was no money involved, I'd still be doing this because I just really enjoy creating stuff that with people that want to make stuff.
Well, but
and that's why I like the BattleTech videos too, is because not only are we making cool shit together, because we do all kinds of stuff outside of BattleTech, but I feel like with this and it brings a lot more people who are creative in their own right out of the woodwork, and they're starting to be like, hey, I'm running a game now and I'm painting minis and I'm doing this, and I mean the support is insane.
And that's the thing that's crazy is we keep finding all of these insane support levels, and people keep giving us money and we keep saying don't, and they keep doing it. And we're like, no, that's okay. I guess we'll do these things now. And we keep trying to tell people, like on the Patreon, I keep saying, this is a waste of money. Here's how it's being spent. And, here's what we're doing with it. And people are like, take my money. And I'm like, this makes me feel, fuck it. And so we just start doing dumber and dumber and dumber stuff.
You're trying to see at what point do they just all pull out at once, which is hilarious.
Well, I keep doubling down on stupid. Like instead of like,
and you warned them every single time. And actually, one thing he does, I don't know if you're not on the Patreon and you don't know this, but he will actually post at the end of the month his update. But he'll also tell people if he's like, this is the time to pull out before they charge your card.
Well, I want people to not regret it. I want people to be like that guy who short sold his stocks the day before it crashed. I want people to know that they can yeet seed out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's something that's I find to be incredibly rare amongst this very gig economy kind of like, pay me, money on the internet kind of thing that's been going on.
Well, yeah,
and
but those people's hearts are
job.
Yeah, well, that's why
I rely on this.
No, and that's why I don't want the money, because I have a full-time job. So I'm like, oh, this is killing my tax return. So it's not helping me. And I keep telling people like, please double think about it. And people keep going like, oh, it's that reverse psychology. And I'm like, no, I pay the IRS a lot of money. But
well, and also he doesn't take any for himself. He pays a lot of people to make cool creative shit.
Well, that is not exactly true. I do set aside about a quarter of it to cover taxes at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then I think I have like 150 I keep for myself for ammunition or coffee.
Yeah, you do make that as a point on the Patreon.
Yeah, and no, I'm like, this covers my gun hobby, and people are like, oh, that's funny. I'm like, no, I Mike's visited several times, and he knows go to the gun range with like, there's the guy in the booth next to us who was like, I brought both magazines for my handgun, and I'm like, yeah, okay. And I take out my 400 Glock magazines, and I'm like, we're shooting till our fingers hurt.
I don't think I've ever been on the range with you and seen you reload a magazine. I've been on ranges with people where they're like, oh, I only got like 2 or 3 magazines, and then they reload bullet after bullet, and you're waiting for that to happen. No, he loads up that many and then goes to the range, and then after he's done, he's like, all right, that's all I brought. And it's usually like a fucking arsenal, but it's great.
Well, yeah, but why would you pay the range guy to reload your magazines? Because you're paying for time. It's like going to a bowling alley and being like, oh, yeah, I'd like to rent some strangers' shoes. No, if you enjoy bowling, get a bowling ball and get shoes.
Yes.
It's just one of that or just, sneak in the side and be like, yeah, I got bowling shoes and just like tear up the floor. But so
fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, that's how you're supposed to use a Patreon. Is the idea of a Patreon is when people give you money, they're expecting something for it. They want it to be used on the thing, not like, oh, support my quality of life and buy me things. They're paying you for a service. Like if you go into a restaurant and you pay $20 for like a high-end hamburger with the, hand-cut fries and, a real old school soda jerk soda, and you give them like a single tiny smashed to shit McDonald's burger, and then you keep the rest, and you're like, well, it cost me a lot to make that. People are gonna get fucking mad. And so if it's, when you pay us this much money, it's like people will ask, how in the fuck did you make like 2 back-to-back, like 2-hour feature-length documentaries? And I'm like, well, because you paid us to. And that's what we use the money on, because that's the point of it. And I think a lot of people, as you said, in this gig economy are incredibly, incredibly terrible about pay me because I'm great, pay me because I have a personality. And that's fucking bullshit. And it always helps to have some form of income separate from that, because you never know when that's going to explode in your face. Well, of course. And I fully expect people to cover their own fucking bills and look after their own people and take care of their parents and, all that shit. And I know that if there's a, market crash, or right now with a crisis in the air, hopefully it's passed by the time this airs, but I've warned people several times on the Patreon, hey, if you can't afford this, please take this from your bill. I would hate for you not to have essentials because you're like funding shit posts, Be like, well, I'm out of beans, but at least there's an anti-Klan video out there. Just
at least I have DerreTech.
Yeah, I want people to take care of themselves. And the thing is also, and this is something you and I kind of gel on, is if we did this for a living, if we depended on this, this would change fundamentally who you and I are. And we would be, it kind of brings out a predatory angle in people. And that's why, this shit isn't monetized. This podcast, it's not going to be, brought to you by Audible and Squarespace and a loot box and a bunch of keys from a Russian key selling website. No, I would, you guys paid for it, and there you go. You get what you pay for. And those of you who didn't pay for it, you're hiring it, and you're stealing from the other people who did. So it's like a functional economy in many sense.
Okay.
No, I always love putting that shit in there because people are like, Tex said mean things. And people have a hard time telling when I'm joking because I'm usually making a joke, but sometimes my sense of humor is very bad or awkward or dry, and so people are like, he was serious. And no,
I have the similar problem.
Well, I mean, we both can be very deadpan, and then we both kind of do that smile, like, we didn't mean it, but people can't see us smile.
Yeah,
and so they're like, oh God, what a fucking dick, and they just downvote. But the thing is it's allowed us to interact with a lot of really cool people, like George Ledoux. Hiring George has been the highlight of my everything, because, I mean, we've gotten to the point where it's like, hey, George, do you want to do Macbeth? And he's like, yeah, sure. And we end up doing Macbeth. Or, hey, George, do you want to review some really bad mech art with us on a stream? And he's like, fuck yeah. So, I mean, it's put us in contact with all of these legends of the community who are really fucking cool people that we never thought we would be able to. So that's been really exciting.
Yeah. And also, like, I didn't even know George was that, like, big into a lot of games that I had played. Like, heck, I played so much of Majesty, I didn't even realize he was the narrator for it.
Yeah, he's in everything. Like, it was funny because I was like, George, weren't you in Neverwinter Nights? Weren't you like male neutral warrior? And he's like, and then with no hesitation, even though it's been, God, that was like 2003, he goes, hey, show me your steel, attack, and just launches into all of those fucking voice lines. And he's a gem. He can do a million fucking voices. And that they didn't put him in a lot of BattleTech and other games makes me fucking furious, because he has a lot of talent and he's a very nice guy. He's a very kind, understanding, polite gentleman who, if he heard us in this podcast, he would probably say, bullshit, and just start.
He's like, all right, where on the script did you write this bullshit down?
Yeah.
But no, this is genuine George, unfortunately for you.
Yeah. And George is fucking great. I love George.
You have genuine fans, George.
Yeah. So if
now
George,
you have to deal with that.
Exactly. And George is fucking cool. And you can hire him. You can hire George for shit, and he will do it. He's not like, oh, you're not a studio, I'm not doing that. You could be like, hey, can you be this guy and do these lines? And he'll do them. And his rates are cheap. I mean,
just make sure you pay the man, because he'll get in trouble if you don't.
Yeah, his wife will beat his fucking legs in. You can't do that to a voice actor. You gotta fucking pay.
He's also one of those people who tends to be like, no, it's not a big deal, I'll record it.
Yeah,
like, no, George, your voice is that's your moneymaker. You can't do that.
Yeah, no, you gotta pay people. You can't be like, for exposure, I'm helping you.
And he's been doing this since like the fucking mid 90s.
Yeah, George,
or even later than that.
Oh, George has been in everything, and you can't do that for exposure when you're like big name like George Ledoux.
Yes.
But we've been humbled because we've gotten a lot of crazy attention from fans, like over the year-ish that we've been doing this. We've got the nice letter from GM Legal. We've got Scotch glasses from GM Legal. We got we got a fucking awesome Gorn art poster from GM Legal.
GM likes you.
GM has a sense of humor, and they have a heart, and they're really fucking hilarious, because they were like, stop asking about fusion reactors, and they were really funny. Because they did reach out after the Blackjack video, but I don't want to say too much, because I don't want like some guy's boss who doesn't understand BattleTech at GM be like, why is Legal a dick? So yeah, GM Legal is fucking great, and they were really cool.
I was gonna say, I know that when we switched gears from the Catapult to 2Kid, the way you presented it to me, no shit, was like, hey, this important date is coming up and we got like a week to do it. And I don't care if the video is like super fast and put together like really quickly, but we this is a date we can't miss. Is it possible? I don't want to kill you. And I'm like, challenge accepted. And
we did it. Yeah, no, the Battle of Tukid is something I wanted to do, and it had slipped my mind because I was already working on other bigger, crazier shit. And we got up to that point, and I was like, Mike, can we do this? And you were like, you said yes, but you have to do your part. And I was like, absolutely. Like, I had to have my scripts done, I had to have my audio done, I had to have my research done. And then, well, shit, let's get into how we make a video, because I in the two-part for Exodus to Elementals, I actually, in the intermission of part 1, broke down how many hours these things take, and they're like 800 to 900 hours to make, and that's straight through. And there's like 700 and some odd hours in a month, and both of us have other things we do, like sleep, and I work and you work, and we have all this other shit we do. So obviously these things can't be done in a straight month, because we do require rest at some point to not die. And some people don't get that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I actually have other editing clients, and they don't even ask for this kind of thing, because they were they would be fucking mortified to find out that I do this much work.
Yeah, and I project manage, so it's one of those things of like, let's break this down into blocks of time. And so like phase 1 is me picking a topic, and sometimes I poll the community and we'll get like 5-6 topics, and then I will put those topics out there, and then I will just go through it on my own interest or based on available material. So like something with more material I can do first, and something with less material that requires more research I will do later, because that will take more time. And so I'm writing like 2 or 3 of these at a time, and, just dump trucking information in there. So writing and research can take a month or 2 on its own. And so we kind of run this like an assembly line. But once I've got my scripts and my voice in, as soon as I finish a good draft of the script, Mike is already grabbing resources in terms of art. So that's running in tandem. And we start talking about ideas back and forth. We'll go, oh, here at this point, we could do these things. Here at that point, we could do these things. And here's a good crescendo. Here's where there's going to be climax and anticlimax. And we start phrasing all that out. And then once I do my voice lines, Mike starts putting shit in a timeline. So he's, doing the voice editing. I do some rudimentary audio work, but Mike really shines through on it. And then we put in our art, we put in our animations, we set up everything the way we do it. We watch it about 100 times, and then we go through and make little notes. Here's a good gag. We put in, 10, 20 Easter eggs every video, and no one's found all of them.
Yeah, we put in notes for pretty much, like, even while I'm putting things in that I like haven't even like fully been done up or anything. I'm just like throwing things in there as a baseline, and I'm still making notes, and then he'll watch it and he'll make notes. And then we go back through and we go through every single note. And sometimes we'll be like, what the fuck did we write that for?
Yeah. Like what does egg question mark mean? And we have to figure out where we were. So then we add in sound effects, and we add in sound effects. We add in our scoring and soundtrack. And that's where both of us listen to music and we're like, that doesn't fit. That fits. This doesn't fit.
Yeah, I was going to say, and with the music, that is, if you're listening to the music, that is mostly Tex. He has a background in music and scoring, and he understands that way better than I do.
Well, thank you. But I'm also a snob for soundtracks, and I'm not trying to downplay your compliments. I will take them because you mean them. You're not just like, Tex, you are the best, but you actually...
Well, you saw what I do with the timeline when you don't give me music direction. I'm like, all right, here's the same song once more again.
Yeah. Well, here's a 40-minute cut of The Sky Shall Unfold. And then it's just like, yeah. So I am a huge snob for soundtracks, and I will remember movies for soundtracks more than anything else. I'll be like, what a great fucking score, and the rest of the movie I can't remember who played what, but I love collecting soundtracks. And so we'll do soundtracks. We'll try to find shit that fits. If it doesn't, we'll go out to guys we know in the Legion who are singer-songwriters who will do shit, and they love doing shit. So you've got like Goat and Jekyll and Kumakin who can crank shit out, and they all have their own genre. And then near the end, we'll add more Easter eggs. Again, no one's found them all. There's some pretty funny ones, and there's some very hidden ones that we kind of sprinkle through. So it's like a BattleTech meatloaf of memes and stuff. And then we get to the end and we start doing commercials. And that's where I think we have the wall, is where we're doing commercials. And that's where George Lucas comes out. And I get so fucking tired because I'll be working like a 12 or a 14 or a 16-hour day. And I come home and I'm like, all right, let's watch it once. And Mike will say, do you have any ideas? And I will start doing a very bad George Lucas impersonation and coming up with really bad additions. Like, the Gungans should come out, and they should use their laser swords and the laser eyes, and, just go in there and just destroy the battle mechs, and it rhymes. It's like jazz, and then that's a terrible.
You were
George
joking
Lucas.
about that when in the American Civil War, and you had wrote in the script that Ameris had like created a death laser using
the Venus
solar
Sun Shield.
from-
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were like, when you explained it, you're like, oh yeah, so he has a giant solar shield that he turns into a laser that can blow up a planet. And here, I didn't realize that was actually like a part of the script, and I was like, that's pretty fucking funny. And then when I was editing it, I'm like, oh no, this is fucking real.
Yeah, but what's fucking great is like you at that point.
We were so
like,
tired.
We were so tired that I just kept going, and I was like, no. I mean, one, it shows like a dictator losing their fucking mind and coming up with a doomsday weapon because they don't know what else to do. And that really underpins the whole Amaris went fucking crazy. But it's also just funny because we were so fucking tired. And then that's where you did that laugh. Like that laugh is your laugh, the Amaris laugh.
Yes.
Where
that,
you, yeah.
The evil super clown laugh that I recorded like 10 years ago that I used randomly throughout the videos that almost nobody pointed out up until the Amaris thing. And I'm like, I've been hiding it.
Yeah. And once again, one of our many Easter eggs. And we've got some other crazy shit. I mean, God, speaking of crazy shit, like whenever we punch these out, people are like, Tex, what's your address? And I have a few people who do take packages for me because I don't want to set up a PO box for near where I live. I'm not super paranoid, but I do treasure my privacy. And so I have people who take packages for me that I know that will get them to me. And we had that one guy who insisted I take a vacation and then started a GoFundMe for it.
Yeah.
And he later organized sending battle mechs, like painted battle mechs, which are fucking phenomenal. And I mean, the fan base like is scary nice. And that's another thing that I think separates it from the 40K fan base is it's not just like, good job, I like the guy with the sword. It's more like, thank you so much for helping explain why I love this, because now I can share it with my family and we both love this now. By the way, here's some mechs I painted. And it's that kind of shit is really moving. And I'm not a person to show a lot of emotion other than like pissed off.
Not at all.
No, like,
I was gonna say, like, when you received those mechs, I was at your house.
Yeah,
he had just got them, and I was visiting. And shout out to Tuck and everybody who worked to make that happen. So he was opening the mechs, and I'd gotten kind of used to hearing Tex in real life, like his tone and everything. I kind of like go, okay, this is his normal demeanor, but it changed completely after he saw the mechs. He went, oh wow,
yeah,
wow, this one's got a little mug.
Yeah,
wow, and he was just like, this is nice. This is nice, and it was like one of those things where you could tell someone wants to be on the verge of tears, but it's not like in their ability to do so. But that was where he was. He was so touched by that. And it was like such a really great moment to watch someone just like feel the weight of all the love that the community has given.
Well, and it was
physically.
It was a physical manifestation of that love. And because you realize each of those minis is like, a lot of work.
He proudly displays those at his house.
Yeah, they're where they are. And when people reach out and like, oh, what's that? I'm like, don't fucking touch them. They're mine.
Exactly. Although he does that quite often. You get kind of used to the gun slides.
Yeah, well, it's part of it. So I mean,
it's part of the Tex experience.
Yeah, and it's just one. It's the Tex experience. Somebody had joked that at one point on the Patreon they'd be like, if you pay this much, you get to hang out with Tex, and I'd be like, no. That is dumb. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that because I'd be like, we're going to eat 12 steaks and shoot at the moon. Hope you like tracers and bring your own earplugs.
Yeah, and there are some people who are like, oh hell yeah, that sounds like fun. It's like you can't out eat a steak with Tex.
No, I love meat. Meat is
and
the
he's
cornerstone.
Not a big dude.
No,
he is. Yeah, he can out eat anybody. It's insane.
People have called me the Battle Tex Ron Swanson. Just.
That's good. Yeah.
It's just I don't have the mustache that he does, but I absolutely love meat, and I'm be like, well, it's 12 p.m. time to cook bacon, And so here is a next thing I wanted to kind of get onto, because I think this could very easily be a 2-hour podcast.
Of course.
So here's, before anyone asks, like, why are the podcasts not consistent in length? I'm like, well, it depends on what we're doing and how we feel. So, I mean, if I want to have a 30-minute episode, I'm gonna. And if I want to have a 4-hour episode, I'm gonna. We're not going to have a 4-hour episode, so you don't have to worry.
Yeah. And keep in mind, like, he planned out to just record them. And he has set out people who want to record, and some people can't come, and that's we're just going to go anyway and just have fun with it.
Exactly. So these are not planned or orchestrated. We have no idea what we're doing. So don't think we do. That is a big mistake. So we've Mr. Kobold, the current mayor of the BPL, which is one of the things we do in the inside BPL, and good luck to you trying to find your way in, because we're never going to tell you. But the current mayor was tasked with gathering some questions about BattleTech that people wanted to ask. And so I figured we can go through these and just realize how crazy these questions are. So
right, I forgot about the questions.
So Mr. Kobold did these questions, and I've got them in front of me now, and I wanted to go through them.
Great.
Yeah, some of these are great, and some of these I'm skipping because holy shit, what were you smoking, person who asked these questions?
Call them out. No, I'm kidding. No. Go for it.
Someone said, can paraplegics operate a battle mech? Yes. Yes, they can, because you're using the neuro helmet for the bulk of the stuff. You absolutely can.
I remember when they asked that, and someone actually did explain that, but it was like several somebodies came in. That's the
BPL, where someone's like, actually, and then there's a chorus of actually behind that. So it's like, actually, and then here comes all the data.
Yeah.
Someone said, does punching an Irby count as a collision for insurance purposes? Depends on where you are. Most mech insurance, though, assumes you're going to die anyway, so damage is probably going to result in payout.
Most mech insurance is just life insurance with extra steps.
Yeah, pretty much. Which Gundam model is your favorite? I've never seen an episode of it. I don't like the proviso of a show, or the gist of a show being like a bunch of angsty teenagers like trying to save the world with the most expensive weapons ever created, because that's really kind of a shit premise.
Yeah.
If I wanted to watch angsty teenagers doing anything, I guess I would try to watch a Twitch streamer talk about Fortnite. I mean, it's just not my jam.
It's not, and he's not saying that, if you like those things, those suck. Because there's a lot of people in the BPL who love Gundam.
Yeah, they paint them, and they obviously like their shit, and that's cool. If you like it and it makes you happy, cool. As long as you're not harming anybody. But it's not my thing. And thank you for backing that up, because I don't want people to think like, wow, Tex hates this and that. No, it's just
he has his own tastes, and that's fair. Like, there are things that I like that Tex doesn't like, and I think that's what makes the BPL unique too, is like, it's not just a bunch of people who like the same shit. Otherwise it just becomes a giant echo chamber. So,
yeah, no, we have a lot of people who call each other assholes, and that's where it's fun. I really dislike echo chambers where,
yes.
It's like when people get into the BPL, they don't realize that the mods screen for people who are like, Tex is the best. They're like, you're not getting in. And it's just one of those things, like, you have to have a little bit more to you than that. Like, I enjoyed this content, but here's the other things about me. So we're looking for someone who's going to stay, not someone who's going to kiss my ass, because I don't like that. That makes me like really uncomfortable. Wow. And I talked about myself a lot. That makes me sound like an asshole. Okay, moving on.
That's about right, though. I mean, that's where we just end up anyway.
Well, it is a podcast. I guess you're supposed to. So
people are genuinely curious about you and everyone else in the BPL. But I think, like, especially the general audiences who aren't into the BPL, like in the actual like Legion itself, they're just genuinely curious about you because you make all this stuff outside of BattleTech and everything else on your channel. And you like to do this thing where it's like, I'll just sprinkle in little details about my life. And then you can piece it together and you find out that Tex might just be like a fucking 1950s detective or something. Because it's just, that's how much like little tidbits he leaves out there. So if you watch enough of his like Space Station 13 videos or any of his other things, and especially like just his, I'm just going to play this game here. And then he just starts going into these subjects that are like that. So you'll find some
I like sprinkling my content with little pieces of myself because I've often learned that anything shared genuinely has more meaning than something told in abstract. That's a hard one to define. But I mean, if you don't like it, you can go fuck yourself.
Exactly. So next question.
Canadian Red said Blackjack or Blackjack. You got your fucking episode. You got your fucking episode. Red, you got your fucking episode.
You got us in trouble with GM Red. Thanks.
GM called Red because of that episode. GM called. So thank you, Red. Are fat halflings called in fear of being sued for looking like hobbits? They're the same thing. They just changed the name. You know that, Pablo. Well, here's a good one. Why is Clanner attire so awkward?
Well, they thought they were on the forefront of everything in terms of culture, technology, and apparently fashion. But they also didn't look in a mirror because I think that it was probably
that's unclan-like.
It's dishonorable to look in a mirror. Why do you need to look at yourself?
Self-reflection is against the clan.
Yeah,
I think it has to do with like, let's say there's fashion shows, right? There's fashion shows out there right now, and people always clip pictures from fashion shows because it'll be something fucking weird, like somebody, dressed up as a Nazi stormtrooper, and then someone behind them dressed up as like a mirror, and then someone behind them dressed up like a floating ghost made out of all these see-through gossamer fabrics. And the reason they have these fashion shows is they'll have like 100 themes, and one is okay. And they're flying all these crazy ideas out there, and the whole world looks at it and ridicules and goes, that's fucking stupid. That's fucking stupid. And the designer of those clothing, they agree to that. They're like, oh, okay, that won't work. No one will buy that. That's garbage. Oh, that one thing, everyone talks about it. Let's do something on that theme. Well, these people went way out where there's no other exposure, and all they did was huff each other's farts in an echo chamber. And there's no one to say, that looks ridiculous. It's, sure, why not?
Most of the people were in the military. Like, they had civilians, but they were mostly like farmers and stuff. So you had like all these ex-military people being like, well, I think this looks great. And I'm not saying that people in the military can't be fashionable, because believe me, they can be. But I mean, what, over 100 years or so, or 50 years or so,
okay,
something like that.
You were in the Army, Mike, and correct me, and if I'm wrong here, but people in the military don't know how to civilian very well, and their attire for going out on the weekends to club and pick up dependopotamuses kind of is a dead giveaway. You can spot a GI on leave in about 3 minutes.
Oh yeah, you can smell a fresh private from anywhere, because they're the ones quickly throwing down money, buying everyone drinks, and they're dressed like they just walked out of. And I hate to throw your favorite clothing company under the bus here, but they walk out like they're dressed for the Duluth Trading Company, trying to go to a club for like young people. And it's like, no, man, you can't do that here.
Well, yeah, it's being away from the common culture long enough paints you as an outsider, no matter what you do.
Exactly.
And so there's your answer. Someone asks, I don't eat ice cream because I've cut sugar out of my diet to save my digestion, which has worked very well. But Canute asks, what's your favorite ice cream topping? Good question for the editor.
Oh, for me, I think I'd probably go with either cookies and cream or cookies and cream with mint, but definitely cookies and cream is the base for a lot of my favorite ice cream.
But topping.
Oh, topping. Okay. Cut out when you said that.
Great.
Topping. I would say my favorite topping is probably just the standard sprinkles. Just sprinkles. Nothing crazy, just...
I did. Well, I mean, you could be like, I enjoy Monopoly hotels.
Yeah, I definitely don't want that on my ice cream, but yeah, the sprinkles are good.
Awesome.
Sprinkles are good.
Okay, so Pablo Ichiban asks, are cleaners awful because they're pond people who lack the traditional family structure needed for a stable childhood? Yes.
I think you answered your own question there.
Yeah. Someone asks...
It's a loaded question.
Genocide, through one of our legionaries, has said, Tex, I notice you speak highly of the awesome. Is this a mech you actually run on the regular, your daily, or something you're aspiring to own? If you're talking about own, I own several awesomes for tabletop. If you're talking about MechWarrior Online, that is to MechWarrior as KFC is to Christmas dinner, so don't buy into that. Yeah, it's... the awesome is great. It's a great all-rounder. It's a very cheap assault mech, and it's the barn door of doom. You can use it to smash your enemy into bits, and it's great at pulverizing stuff, and it's very reliable in terms of getting the job done.
No lance should be without an awesome.
An awesome is the anchor to any lance. Frank the Tank asks, where do the mech pilots go pee? Okay, some Intersphere mechs actually do have toilets in them. Claners have to pee in pee bags, much like...
A colonoscopy bag?
No, more like fighter pilots do.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where like the inner sphere is light years ahead of the clan in shitter technology, but it just comes out of the succession wars where mechs were handed down from generation to generation, and they just kept making unauthorized modifications.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a good one. What is the preferred air freshener for your cockpit? I enjoy pine or cedar.
That's a good choice. I personally like linen or rain, like what's it called? I forget the name of it. It's a smell that rain hits the pavement, hot pavement. That smells really good. Those are my two favorite.
So you asked, and I see this because it's labeled as you. How effective would a mech cockpit be if you covered the cockpit windows with latex paint?
Yeah.
Vary, because you're seeing through the sensors in the neuro helmet, so you'd be just fine in some mechs. In some mechs, not so much, and you would need that visual acquisition. But it's a lot like flying with a heads-up display in a car. Flying in a car. Jesus Christ, am I tired? But flying in like a plane, you can see the airport and you can see your glide slope, but you may not see the trees between it. So. Fun times.
Yeah, I wondered that because it's like, if you were just using the neuro helmet, why put windows on there at all? But then again, if the neuro helmet dies, the windows are your only chance to see.
Yeah, it's like, and that goes in with another question that was asked is, why, I don't know why mechs have windows. Could you put metal and screens in there? It's kind of like the old Mark 1 eyeball. Why do planes have windows when they have such good sensors? Sensors can fail, and the eyeball may be what you need to realize where the ground is.
Exactly.
So it's that old fallback. It's like the iron sights on a rifle still being accessible. You're gonna want to have that.
Just think of Windows as a redundancy.
Exactly. What is the cheapest mech to get into the game that is not a Nervy? Depends on the game. If you're talking tabletop, it's the cheapest miniature is a question of dollars, not C-bills. But if you really want something that is like cheap as shit for C-bills cost, universally, it's going to be stuff like the Commander or the Commando, not the Commander. Christ. The Commando is like a cheap as shit mech. There's anything in the 20 ton, 25 ton range. If you look at 20 and 25 ton mechs, anything that doesn't have, the advanced electronic countermeasures, ECM, and all that other stuff, anything that's just a basic bitch light mech in those ranges tend to be cheap as shit. Here's a good one. Opinion on the guillotine and Blakist iterations. I hate the word of Blake Jihad, and I'm not gonna cover it because they killed the universe to move it forward, and I have some problems with that. And
you've spoke to some people about it, and I know that a lot of people would like to just see you tear into it.
Right, but I also don't want to tear into it because there's writers that had to do it because that's what the company said they had to do, and that's kind of unfair to them because they love the universe too, and they're like,
It's the best that they were able to do with the constraints that they were given at the time. And,
right.
Yeah. Maybe at one point, maybe at some point in the distant future,
maybe
when you run out of stuff to talk about, you'll whip out the.
I might have to at some point, but I have to find a way to approach it that's just not going to shit on people.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'd rather not. The community has been very kind, and I'd hate to like slam their fingers in the door and be like, "Ha ha, I gotcha."
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, how bad are mech warriors for the environment? Yes, very. Most of these weapons are not very accurate, and they tend to shoot everything that moves while moving. So, yeah, very.
Yeah, just about as much as war is pretty bad for it. So, yeah.
So someone says, is Ford part of the mech market? Yes. Ford, GM, Boeing, Interstellar. There's a lot of these companies out there that make mechs or mech parts. And in fact, I'll pull up Starnet right now and give you an example. Off the top of my head, I know that Ford makes a lot of engines. And
Nissan too.
Yeah, Ford, Nissan, GM make a lot of power plants, and they make a lot of parts. So I do know that Ford and GM and Nissan are still out there. And that could be a whole, you know what? We might have to do a special on just the companies of the inner sphere, because I think that would be really interesting. So we'll put a pin in that for now.
The businesses that create BattleTech.
The businesses that fund war, the gears of the military industrial complex. I mean, that could be an interesting episode.
And also it would be nice to be able to get like kind of a cultural look at how mech warriors outside of the mech interact with the public and what the public is like.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
What part of the inner sphere you go to, it's going to be different. You go to the Draconis Combine, it's going to be like sushi bars and like
tea houses,
tea houses, things like that. You go to Steiner area, and it's like Hopra houses and all these other like really cool like German-esque foods. Then you go to Capellans and it's just scorched earth. And then you go to
of course. I mean, but no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, just famine and disease and Chernobyl after the bomb, and So it's one of those it's one of those many weird things. It's one of those many weird things where. Yeah, that's going to be a deeper rabbit hole.
That would be nice, because I think you've touched on stuff like the magistracy of Canopus and their weird like Vegas like culture, and then you also have what were the Roman guys called again? They're at the tip of my tongue. The guys who are like ancient Rome periphery. Oh yeah, the
Marian hegemony.
Marian hegemony. Yes,
what's funny is with them is they're like, we're the Roman Empire 2.0, and kind of, but not really, but kind of. And by kind of I mean like killing each other to advance their career and backstabbing each other and Ides of Marching every Ides of March, and they're dicks. But they do have some pretty cool
like their
stuff.
Hot Topic logo that they have.
They have some really like fun aesthetic shit, but as far as like a place I would want to live, no, and a place I would want to visit, no.
Not at all.
Yeah,
they seem like dicks.
Well, we've also talked about doing like a huge guide to the periphery, like a handbook guide to the periphery, which would just be like a bunch of people going, hey, where's the nearest HPG terminal? And then it's like, back the way you came, and then shotgun sounds.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, all the big companies are still there. Navy issue Licard asks, what is the Lambo of the mech market? Probably the Dasher. It's just really fast, but not practical and very fragile. And the Rolls Royce, it's probably going to be something Clan Tech as well. That's just ridiculously expensive and impossible to replace and impractical for surely everything. Here's a good question. Did Catherine Steiner take away the crab legs from the Lyran Commonwealth and the Federated Suns when she was acting as a despot? No, but she took all the fun out of things. That's FedCom Civil War, and we intend to get to that eventually.
Yes. I have a lot of pictures of her that are really creepy.
Oh, yeah. She had so much crazy art. And that's what I love about it. Steven asks, why are the people into BattleTech always that kind of weird? Well, it's called autism, Steven. That's not very sensitive. How dare you?
Yeah, what are you into again, Steven? Because
no, he just knows that they're all always a little weird. But I think in the BPL, weird calling weird is pot calling kettle black. We're a bunch of weird guys.
Yeah.
Diggs says he has no idea, no interest in it myself, but he says he wants to play a tabletop role-playing game based around it where you can role-play a pilot with high lethality. Yeah, it's called A Time of War, and that actually exists, and it is high lethality. And Mr. Welch did a episode on it. It's got some stuff.
Mr. Welch of Mr. Welch's Mad Musings.
God, he reviews everything. I mean, he's Christ. Well, then there's also Mr. Welch's List, which is, like a legendary nerd artifact. His list of things you can't do anymore.
And if you don't know about his channel, you should go look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, Mr. Welch's Mad Musings is everything you ever wanted to know about an RPG from an RPG expert. And holy shit. So here's the next thing, and I think this could be something we round it out until we get tired. The Star Trek game over on the Courtesy Flush is one of the highlights of our week, and it's got a lot of followers and people really love it. And we're both huge Trek fans, and we can, I mean, you had to sniff me out to see if I was legitimate, as when I was like, oh dude, I'm big into Trek. And you asked me some really crazy niche questions, because I remember like one of the texts you wrote Darmok and Jalad, and I was like at Tanagra like a second later, just because I was like, oh God, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that was the dip in the toe question. I remember the one that I got. I was like, I asked him like very sideways, because you have to understand, Tex is very aware when people are trying to like probe for shit. So if you ask him a question trying to probe for shit, he knows you're asking to probe for shit. So don't beat around the bush. Just ask him your question. But I was like, hey, you remember that green drink that Scotty drank?
Aldebaran whiskey. Aldebaran whiskey. And Data was like, oh, it's green,
Yes.
Because
and I was just trying to be sneaky about it, but he fucking saw through that shit. And like, yep, that's right.
Well, and it's the thing is we've seen every episode like 100 times. And except for like Picard and Discovery, I refuse to watch.
And I think people I don't know if anybody thinks this about me, but I don't force Tex to watch Discovery. I watched it one time and I quote all of the horrible shit that's in the show because I think it's fucking hilarious. It is not a good show, but it is
a terrible show. Like I've seen excerpts from it. People are like, hey, check this out, and I watch it and I'm like, this isn't Star Trek, this is a parody. It's not even a caricature, because a caricature at base maintains some similarity with the subject matter, and it's not even a good caricature. It's just
it feels like it was made by somebody who's cynical about Star Trek. What it feels like.
No, it just feels like somebody is like, yeah, I'll chop this up with some leftovers, and they'll never know the difference. I mean, it's just hateful. It's hateful.
And we're really just sort of attacking the writing. The production behind it is fantastic in terms of set design, the acting. Even though like everyone had like weird roles to play, they played them well.
I'm giving it shit based on bad writing and a bad heart attempt at making a Star Trek show. Like disregarding the fan base, disregarding all the good shit, and just saying, I'm going to do what I want. Fuck you. Like that is the shit that makes me mad. Where it's
you can't just come in and do that to a bunch of fans who are especially loyal. They're the ones that are literally paying to make Star Trek still a thing.
Well, I mean, look at Star Trek Online. That's a game that is like mediocre at best. It's delusions of adequacy, and it's sustained by a loyal fan base, because that's who Trek fans are. And then you end up with these absolute mad lads who try to sell you garbage, and it ends up with absolute just crap, because it's like they pointed out on Red Letter Media, you've got like 30 fucking producers making crap, just making absolute crap, and they're they're probably sitting around in a committee just beating the shit out of people, and just hate.
I think that BattleTech has some very similar thing to Star Trek in that regard, is that you have people who are, in control of so many different aspects, because the IP is like owned by like 50 different fucking companies.
Oh yeah.
And most of them are incredibly cynical about it. They'll release like fucking skim milk versions of games about BattleTech or, whatever. And I think there's only like just a very small handheld amount of people that make stuff today that actually give a shit, and they're very few.
Oh, I agree. I absolutely agree. And I mean, it hurts me to see that. Like I sit there and I'm like, Jesus Christ, what are you doing? And so this leads me into my next point. If you were given their production budget and you had to create a Star Trek show, what would that show be, and why?
We said this on the last podcast, actually.
Mm-hmm. I intend to keep beating this down until they know they're wrong.
Right. And I said that I really liked the idea of playing, like having a race of people on a planet that's close to the Romulan Empire, and the first contact, because they're industrial, they're a lot like humans. Maybe they have like just slight differences, because that's how Star Trek likes to roll. They usually put spots or wrinkly nose. Like you got to keep the production quality like at an affordable rate. But if I was to make someone, they'd be the first time. They'd be in the same era that we're currently in, like 21st century. We have a space program, but we just found out how to do light travel. And we reach warp 1, and that's when the Romulans find them. And that's their first contact. And then they meet the Federation, and they learn about all of the and this is like Deep Space Nine Voyager era, where they learn about what the Federation does. And, that sounds really nice. But then you live on a fractured planet with people who still are very much out for themselves, and money is still a thing. And you meet these people who are like, we don't do money anymore. We're a culture of enlightenment.
Yeah, and I could see where that would just like annihilate a culture where you have like everything's based off this pervasive economy, and they're like, oh no, you can just have infinite stuff. As long as you have electricity, you can make stuff. And they're like, what? Yeah, just
and
food.
They poorly explained that in most of Star Trek lore, because it's really difficult to kind of, you'd have to delete all of what a culture is based on with their economy in order to be able to have that kind of egalitarian culture that Star Trek's Federation's in. And then you meet the Romulans, who are like Cold War era, like sneaky, like, no, we didn't do anything, but they fucking did it. And
I would see them in Romulans like manipulating, people. They would slowly manipulate by, saying, oh, well, you got to be ready for what's out there. I mean, you're glad you bumped into us. And we, of course, believe that a nation should, of course, be independent and see after its own good. So, you're probably going to want some weapons, and you shouldn't trust all these other people. And that, kind of making these people really paranoid, and maybe increasing the militancy of these people. Like, you got to be ready to fight shit out there. And have you seen a Klingon? And they show like a video of a Klingon like tearing people in half.
Yeah. They create propaganda, and I like the idea that they want to be explorers, just as like, when Earth sent out Captain Archer and they went out on their Enterprise adventure, but more in the sense that these people are already in a universe or galaxy that's already kind of established technologically. There's a Federation, there's the whole Cardassian war going on. There's like the Romulans being Romulans. You got the Klingons being Klingons. And you meet these people for the first time through the eyes of somebody who has the same sensibilities as people from this century. and they're like, what the actual fuck is going on?
Well-
You're like, okay, wait, we met this like they go to like a planet, it's like primitive people, and they're like, we can study and work with them and help bring them up. And then the Federation shows up and they're like, yeah, we wouldn't do that, because we have Prime Directive, and
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying with that, because you can use that to illustrate the philosophical principles of Star Trek that undermine and underpin all of these big civilizations. And then you watch a civilization trying to struggle as they work through that.
yeah, they try to sort out who's really a friend, who's actually a foe, and what are the detriments to a society that doesn't actually join a federation.
Yeah. How does the Federation treat somebody who's on the fence about it? Especially like post-Dominion War, where they're really limited of resources. Like the Federation would be like, yeah, here's our embassy, and good fucking luck, and don't treat people bad in 10 years. And then they leave.
Yeah. And you get to meet, I think it'd also be a great wagon to kind of tell stories about the post Deep Space Nine era. Voyager was still going on at the time, but this is like after the war is over and everyone is just tired, and there's alliances and little tiny spats breaking out. And you're just like, hey, everybody, we're going to go explore the galaxy. And then you go meet all these scary fucking people who are just doing all their shit.
That would be really fucking cool. And imagine the danger. Danger of like a nascent civilization coming into contact with a Ferengi, who are like, oh, you want matter, antimatter, no problem, and then they blow up their moon. And it's, they're like, oh, we can accelerate you 200 years in technology. That'll only cost this much money. And then they give people a bunch of technology and they just do horrible fucking things. And yeah, it would be a very gritty show, but I think that would be really fucking cool as you see a civilization not only try to get through one of the great filters, as they call it, but being pushed through them like a fucking strainer.
And I think that's a great place to start for an episode, or at least for a series. And like, I had an idea for one other series. I'm not going to go deep into it because we're gonna kind of end here.
No, we can go on. No, please. No, I'm joking. Just lay your idea out, man. People are listening because they fucking care, or they're like barreling down the road and they're 18-wheeler listening to this fucking podcast they put on at random, and they're like, I don't know what a fucking BattleTech is, but I'm gonna honk my horn, bird, and they're just gonna run someone right off the road.
Good, because people drive like shit.
Of course they do. And by the way, truckers out there who are listening deep out there in the internet, thank you for your service in getting me my toilet paper. I appreciate it.
You guys are the backbone of this country.
As everyone always says. You, the butter farmers, are the backbone of this country.
Then they don't give them any money. So what I was going to say for the idea I had was just playing the crew, or playing like a team, like a shift on a much bigger ship, like a Galaxy class or whatever, or no, I'd rather do Ambassador class era. Like
Enterprise C.
Yeah, and these are the guys who work on the lower decks, because they made like one episode or two episodes, and I think it was Voyager tried to do it, and I think TNG did it as well.
Yeah, well, Voyager tried to do it with like the shitheads, and it was showing that Janeway cares about even the little people, and it was like an autistic guy who hated everybody. Yeah, and he was working on his like 8th PhD, and he was like working in like the EPS conduit, so all he had to do was like, okay, power beep, and it was.
Yeah, he wanted to be left alone, and Jane was like, no, you have to live up to your full potential. And he's just like, fuck you, bitch. Get out of my face.
Get out of my face. I got to read my comic books.
So I would like to see more in terms of like a crew working, like a team. Like they'd be a shift, like B shift.
Yeah.
It'd be a good like mini series where it's like you're on like an ambassador class ship, and all this weird shit is happening, and the captain's dealing with it, but you don't deal with the captain or the officer crew. It's always the B shift that has to clean up the mess.
Oh man. So the episode starts with them having ended an episode like, well, that's the last we'll hear of them, and everyone laughs and leaves the bridge, and the B shift comes on, and you just hear the sensor sounds as they just sit there and they're like, yay, shift.
They're like, yeah, they're the ones who have to clean all the fucking blood off the hull and fix and repair things. And then they find their own problems that they then have to fix. Otherwise the ship will end up like going through chaos. And I think that would be cool to see how people deal with like the floating green hand from the Adonis episode. Where it's like you have the captain, you see what they do, but like you're like working on the lower deck, you look out a fucking window and there's a goddamn hand grabbing your ship. What is happening to you? What are you gonna? You're just gonna sit there and continue to press buttons?
Dun 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 dun, and they're like, "Quick, veer to the left slightly."
Yeah, they're like torpedo guy. Load the torpedo up, and you share the torpedo room. I'd love to see more of that. Just
like all the showing them how mechanically a torpedo is loaded and everything. Which,
I think that would be. I think that would make a great miniseries. As far as a show goes, I don't know how you could write full hour episodes behind that, but I'm sure you could. I think it would just make it better.
Well, I mean, it's like you and I, and several people had suggested this, and you and I had talked about it. Like if we had Amazon Prime money or HBO money, we would love to make a BattleTech show. And you and I had talked about a treatment of it where it's the fall of Star League and the American Civil War and the aftermath. And the fall of Star League, like season 1, is Richard Cameron's dad, old man Cameron, getting smoked, and then Richard Cameron inheriting the throne, and then the end of season 1 is Amaris shooting Cameron, and then the start of season 2 is the final stand of the Black Watch, and then it goes through all the crazy shit, and 6-7 season just out of the American Civil War. And I think that with the drama there, you could absolutely make a fucking phenomenal show with all of the betrayals and everything else. And oh my God, the wealth of characters you could have. And they won't make it. And if they do, it'll probably be pretty bad. But
it would take a lot of money to get all those IPs in line.
Oh God, yeah, because BattleTech is owned by Catalyst in part. It's owned by Microsoft in part. And then the overall IP for visual IP is owned by Tops, which is owned by Tornante. And Tornante is owned by Michael fucking... ooh, man. I choked up when I said his name. That says something. Tornante is owned by Michael Eisner. And he will not let that go because that is his precious. And he used to run Disney with an iron hand. So, yeah, no, that IP is not going anywhere. And so I would love to do even just the writing, or even help do the research or anything for a BattleTech show that actually treated it with the reverence it deserves. But I know that I would be the last fucking person ever asked to do that because this is not a just world. But I know that Mike and I have both thought about that, and a few people have asked us about it.
Be fantastic.
Yeah, it would be absolutely fantastic. And
it's and that's the thing with productions too. It's like there are all these really great things out there that you could make series out of, but getting the right people at the helm of it is an incredibly difficult task because there's a lot of politicking and a lot of different things that go into producing. Like if they did decide they want to make BattleTech and they contacted Dex and they're like, we're going to make BattleTech. We want you to work on it. And you know what they do? They put him at like just a writer capacity and they barely even fucking talk to him because that's just how a lot of Hollywood works. I would love it if they would give us the chance or more independence in general, a chance to actually make some really cool shit, but they, that's not how they function. It's not a sure thing.
Oh no, of course not. That's the issue. Is it's one of those things where you can have a lot of all the parts there ready. Because if you remember, they were going to make a Halo movie. They were going to make a Halo movie. They actually had all the parts to make a Halo movie. And Weta Workshop was involved. Amazing production company. Peter Jackson wanted to do it, and he wanted like Neil Blomkamp, who did. Neil Blomkamp's career speaks for itself, but he's a really, really good filmmaker. When he's not doing Chappie. But it's still, Neil Blomkamp was going to direct, Peter Jackson was going to produce, Weta Workshop was going to do all the effects. They built a real fucking warthog with functioning gun and everything, and it was going to be practical effects. It was going to be fucking beautiful, and Microsoft was like, no. And it shows that all the parts can be there, but if someone just wants more money or a bigger piece of the pie, or they think it's unprofitable, or they don't want to be involved with that, that can happen. So, I mean, I know people have said, Tex, you guys should make blank, or you should try blah. There is zero chance. It's why we haven't tried to do a BattleTech animated series, because there's been about 10 tries to make a BattleTech cartoon, good ones too. But the issue is that as soon as they go up, Tops will issue a cease and desist and say, take it down, delete it, remove it. Just because that's the way the legalities of things are. So on my lottery list, one of my first things is to buy outright the BattleTech IP. And number two is to start a game company that is non-for-profit. Like, if we can draw even, that's all I want to do. And I would go to Zach and Tarn Adams. Wow, dumb. Go to Zach and Tarn Adams, who are the guys behind Dwarf Fortress, and say, what do you need to finish this game in the next 10 years? Or at least put it in a perpetual state. Build an engine that'll be stable for a very long time. Create all the effects you want, all the depth you want, all the simulation you want. And then number three is that crazy UHF station idea we keep mentioning.
Yes.
So we'll close on this. What are your three things you would do if you won one of those big fuck off lotteries?
I think I think mine is pretty much in line with what you would do, because I think we've worked together on a lot of stuff, and I think I've come to really appreciate the collaboration we have, in that if I had that kind of money, I would ask you, hey, I got this fucking crazy amount of money.
Yeah,
what
but
do we do?
Don't ask me. I'm just going to be like, well, first things, we need to buy a tank. And you're like, wait, what? And I'm like, it's just a tank. Don't worry about it.
No, there would be no what. There would be like, okay, who do we buy it from?
Okay,
that's how
I know a guy in the Ukraine, and I know in the, anyways.
A guy in the Balkans, of course.
Yeah, well, of course. It's the Balkans. Everything's for sale there, you know.
Okay, so if let's say, I would probably end up purchasing this. I would probably, number one, do the UHF station.
Oh, man, that'd be fun.
That would be it, because I just want a production studio, because I could do anything with production if I had a studio to do it. I studied a lot in production when I was in college, and there's so much more that I want to learn, but it requires a production studio working on a set. And I really don't want to work on sets anymore. Those are abysmal places if you don't have a specific job. And even when you do, everyone's running around 1,000 miles a minute, and you just can't keep up with it. And it's tiring, it's competitive. And I just want to work somewhere where it's like I can learn these things at my own pace, Midwestern style.
Yeah.
Where it's like we're all just having a good time. It's a comfy place to
well,
make
yeah,
shit.
and
those don't exist.
Well, it's kind of like how Mystery Science Theater 3000 started. They were just guys hanging out in the studio, fucking around, making their own puppets, and you know, yeah.
And I think number two would definitely be to have my own game studio as well.
What game would you make first off? Like what would be your first thing?
First game I would probably make would be something. Well, more importantly, I'd probably make an engine first off. Mainly because I like having. It would be nice to have control over that, because then you could make it multifaceted. But if I was to make a game, more than likely it would be a adventure RPG kind of thing. I like adventure games, but I think if you were to make it more like Arcanum, which has a very adventure game kind of style of writing, but it's RPG, I think that would be fantastic. I think those kinds of games, a lot of people look at them as being old or whatever. I think those are not out of style at all. I mean, to prove a point, for a long time, people had said turn-based RPGs, like JRPGs, were out of style. Magazines were saying it left and right, and developers heard that and thought, oh, that must be the truth. Nobody agreed with that.
No,
that
of
was
course
just some
not.
bullshit made up.
Yeah, they're chasing a market trend that is something they're guessing at.
Yeah, and then was it Square Enix comes out with a game called Octopath Traveler, which uses turn-based mechanics, and what do you know? A lot of people fucking like it, and it's a return to the classic style, and they're like, oh, that's weird. It must have been like a happy surprise. And it's like, you're the only people surprised by that. Everybody has been wanting more classic RPG style stuff like Fallout 1 and 2. A lot of people want more, turn-based RPGs, be it, JRPG, whatever you want to make. Those are a lot of fun. They're simplistic. You can put them on a fucking Nintendo Switch if you wanted to and take them with you. Those are the kinds of things that
it's not AAA 80 hours of fucking cutscenes and everything spent on 3D effects that are really, in essence, crazy explosions and laser lights.
Yeah. And I like adventure games because you can hide a lot of humor, and the stuff we do in editing is very similar to the kind of thing I would do with an adventure game. I'd hide little things in there, and I'd make a nice little production that you can follow along, or maybe even go on your own little adventure. It depends on the kind of person you want to be in that game. But I think to end it all, the third thing would be to just take care of my friends. And make sure that everybody had what they need to do whatever it is that makes them happy.
Wow, that's very Star Trek of you. What are you giving stuff away, you commie? No, but no.
I want them to be able to, I'm a big proponent of people out there doing something that they really like creatively, even if they have a full-time job and shit sucks and everything is like on fire around you. You should always have something to do with your hands. Always make something, create something, it's enriching to you as a person.
I agree.
Even if you don't share it with other people. I would prefer if you shared it with other people, but if you don't, it's at least enriching to you. And I think that is, for me, and I think that might be a little too hopeful to say, but I think it's honestly one of the best things that our civilization has come up with is the ability to have a culture of creative people working together to overcome things or just to make cool shit on the internet. I think it's incredibly important for that, for us and for the growth of everything. That's just how I feel, though. I'm very Star Trek-y.
No, and I agree. I think that a universe wherein we can all spend time to find our best self through hard work and exploration of new things and trying to push ourselves as far as we can in the pursuit and perfection of a craft is a life well lived.
Yes.
Well, anyways, on that note, I think we can end this motherfucker. So
it's like almost 2 hours.
Wow, man, these things are going to keep growing like the BattleTech episodes. It'll be like, welcome to the 18-hour podcast.
Yeah, we're just all like, you just hear us eating because we're all like dead quiet.
We're just dead quiet.
Like stop talking. We're just like,
we're just eating. Then there's like a snoring block somewhere in there. Yeah, that'll be fucking great. And ending it in 3, 2.
Wait! Before you end it, let me put something out there to anybody watching. If you don't mind.
Okay.
We've already went through a bunch of BPL questions about BattleTech that you heard. If you're watching or listening to this, you're not watching. If you're listening to this, give us your questions about BattleTech that you'd like to ask Tex. And I know that I'm probably going to regret asking that, but I think this is probably not going to be the last BattleTech podcast.
No, it's the last. I'm refusing to field any more questions. We're going to start doing lore videos on cheese.
Yeah, no, seriously though, put your questions in there. Ask him. I mean, even if it's ridiculous, I try not to be too. Just think of something you really wanted to ask Tex about BattleTech, and we'll, when we have future BattleTech podcast episodes, we can put those in. I think that's a very nice little segment, personally.
All right, fine. We'll play your game. All right. Now ending in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Black Pants Legion podcast number 2. We are sitting in isolation in our own little hidey holes, so I'm coming.
Yep, folks. I'd start off another episode, but these episodes are about like an hour and 30 minutes each, and we only got about 30 more minutes to go. And on today's episode of the stream, and I'm actually really kind of hurting. What I really want is a certain hab that I am not finding for some reason. And I don't know why I'm not finding it. I don't know why I'm not finding it. Ah, dagnabbit. I did that. It's not the special forces. Fuel. It's not luxury liner. As a matter of fact, I'll pop it out and show y'all. It's... Come here, come here, come here. As a matter of fact, I'll just... As I said, I'll pop it out. And we'll look for it together. No TNs. Since today's just a chill stream, 85 results. Narrow it down to 51. Not habs. Ship. My hab. Tiny. Not tiny. Hab living. Not empty. Altec. Seems hab shells has got an update. Yeah, can't get to the back on this one for some reason. No. Optech hydroponics. Get to that one eventually. Or did I not download it? But yeah, we only got about 30 minutes to go for this stream. For right now. Luxury lines, habs, Altec. Altec's been mostly what I've been using in the with a bit in conjunction with a Falkland today. Maybe it's not habs. Maybe it's just hab. No. If I do hab, and I get rid of the keyword hab. Yeah, DerreTech Legacy. Yeah. Play ship yourself. Got that. Class M, no. Premium. Not by Why am I doing by endorsement? Downloads. Maybe not. Just for the parts. Is it in Tigers? Is it Tigers? Is it Tigers' other ones? Nope. Is it the Star Trek one? Wait. Is it Bob? Or is it Bub? Nope. Go back. Go back. Go back. I'll just shirt the ship. Ship the shirt, the shirt, the sheet, the sheet, the sheepy. I may not have downloaded it. Track. Shipbuilders on Reddit, huh? Why aren't I tracking that? J-Tape Nubian. Yeah, Cobbs. This is the one, because I'm actually wanting this piece right here. Okay, requirements. Okay. Decorations. You don't really know. I just want the shape of it. Says I've downloaded it. Unlock. So yeah. Nope, folks, I'll be downloading this, and because right now I'm at an impasse because I'm trying to shape this here, this up in here, and I really cannot do that unless I have a guide to go on, and I can't do that guide unless I have that specific piece, which I kind of do have it, but I wanted actually to have version. Ooh, and give me money, mate. I got this itchy ear. Getting in the flow. Was getting into the flow until I started realizing I'm at an impasse up in here. So yeah, I need that